If you ask any girl from the parish around what pleases her most from her head to her toes, she'll say, I'm not sure that it's business of yours, but I do like to waltz with a log driver, for he goes burning down and down white water. That's where the log driver learns to step lightly. It's burning down and down white water. A log driver's waltz pleases girls completely.
And a happy Canada Day to you. It wouldn't be Canada Day without Log Drivers Waltz. Back at 1260 every time I did Free Agency Special. On July 1st, myself, Dave Jamieson. That song always got a playing. I'm bringing it back here today to Edmonton Sports Talk. Matt Iwanyk, Zach Kubusch, a.k.a. Zachticum, with you here on Edmonton Sports Talk on TuneIn, on iHeartRadio, as well as those of you watching on YouTube. Happy Canada Day, as well as happy NHL free agency. Lots happening. Most of it going to be done in the next 20, 30 minutes, I think. So there's going to be a lot of time to recap what's happened. But a lot of news coming down in the National Hockey League, and we will get to all of that with you over the next 90 minutes, 2 hours or so here on Edmonton Sports Talk. At about 10:30, Tom Gazzola will drop by. I know he was in the nasty chat asking where he should do his hit, whether it should be from his balcony or inside his condo. I'm going to vote for balcony. That's just my vote, Tommy, but that's where I'm going to go. And then Dustin Nielson will join us at 11 o'clock, so we'll get their thoughts as well. Quickly, before we just start getting into everything, nasty chat, your thoughts, always welcome, or you can jump in the Parish Jewelers inbox. 780-218-9999. Let's go through some of the stuff, though, that has happened this morning. When it comes to the Edmonton Oilers, they have signed Connor Brown to a one-year, $1 million deal. They've also made a couple more signings. James Hamblin, a two-year, two-way deal at $775,000. Noah Philp, a one-year, two-way deal at $775,000 as well. Sam Carrick, sounds like he's not going to be returning to the Edmonton Oilers. He'll go to the New York Rangers. Sounding like a three-year deal, $1 million per year. As per Ryan Rashaw, quote, Vinnie Desharnais headed to the market. Big physical right shot penalty kill D-man. Oilers just don't have the space to fit him in right now. Great story, late bloomer who showed big improvement in the last season and a half. His work on the PKs particular was critical. And according to Chris Johnston of TSN, multiple teams have shown interest in Andre Kosho, who spent time last season at home in Czech, Edmonton, Pittsburgh. Two of the teams that have inquired. A couple of the major signings earlier today. Chris Tanev to the Leafs, 6-year, $4.5 million with a full no-move clause. That's the fascinating part of that one. 34-year-old, I believe it is, 6 years. That's a deep contract. But he also gets the full no move. That's going to be tough to deal with in a few years. They also bring Wallback 3 by 3.66. Jake Gensel to the Lightning, 7 years and $9 million. And Sam Reinhart stays in Florida, 8 years, 8.63. Zach, what are we also expecting? Because there's been, as I came in today, I was just doing some side prep. You just kept throwing out the news because it just your phone kept buzzing and you just kept throwing out the names and the teams that its players were linked to. What else are we looking to be expecting today?
Yeah, well, my phone's buzzing right now, and I just got a buzz, actually. Elliot Friedman confirming Tyler Bertuzzi, to Chicago, 4 years, $5.5 million. And then it says from Darren Dreger here, 16-team no trade for OEL. So it looks like he's been signed to Toronto, 4 years, $3.5 million. And then the Predators are in talks with both Jonathan Marchessault, apparently, and of course they are the front runners for Steven Stamkos, and his expected contract, if he is to sign with the Predators, is a 4-year contract, $8 million average for Steven Stamkos. And also Shane Gostisbehere did not come to terms with the Detroit Red Wings, so he will walk to free agency. And supposedly, Sean Monahan as well is looking to be signed by Columbus. They're in talks around 5 years at $5 million average. And Bob McKenzie said that Ottawa is sniffing for David Perron as well. So that's some of the rumors.
Actually, he's signing in Chicago.
Oh, is
That's
he?
like a minute ago. Frank Saravalli saying Pat Maroon signing with the Blackhawks. 1 year, $1.3 million.
Wow.
So that just actually dropping.
See, I've never gotten so many Twitter notifications in my life. This is the day.
It's always a wild, like, for agency day, it is a great time. It used to be nothing could start until this time, until 10 o'clock. And now we have that time period where everything is getting done, and it's just now time to quickly go through all the signings and then to react to everything as well. Actually, the Blackhawks also signed Laurent Brossoit, 2-year deal, $3.3 million AAV. So the Blackhawks making some moves today as well. It's an Anthony Mantha going to the Calgary Flames. That's just coming down too. Frank Saravalli with that one, 1 year in probably the $3.5 million range. I'm fascinated by the Leafs right now, just because nice moves, I guess, to help fix your blue line with Tanev and OEL. OEL, a 4-year deal. Giving term to the old guys, though. Like, they're all in right now on Austin Matthews for the next 3 years or something, knowing full well maybe that he's going to walk at the end of this. That's what this is screaming to me a little bit, is that they're looking at this going, we've got this window of Austin Matthews' contract, and that's it. So, yeah, if we're locked in for a longer term after that, so be it. We're going to be potentially rebuilding anyway, so who cares? Because Austin Matthews will have walked away.
Yeah, that's probably where they're at right now, and you got to kind of go all in. I mean, Chris Tanev was a guy that really everybody wanted at the deadline, and it ended up being Dallas who took him. But now they have a great defenseman signed, but until 40 years old, that's tough for the Leafs. And I mean, you got to do what you got to do to get the players, because he could have went anywhere else, right? And Chris Tanev to the Leafs is the way it went.
You needed to correct me earlier.
No?
You were talking about Perron. I was talking about Pat Maroon, and I got them confused. And I jumped in saying he was going with Blackhawks.
Oh, shoot. Yeah,
No, it was David Perron. You were talking about David Perron potentially going to Ottawa.
Yeah. Bob McKenzie, David, and has said David Perron might be a fit for Ottawa, and they've been talking. And then more things here. Matt Roy signs a 6-year deal to the Caps, carrying a $5.75 million average. 2 years and $2.5 million average for Anthony Stolarz to the Leafs. Just out now, Darren Dreger.
Leafs making some moves today. Also, quickly, the NHL making this announcement, the home schedules for every team that will have their home opener. The Edmonton Oilers will open up their season at home at Rogers Place on October 9th as the Winnipeg Jets will come to town. The full NHL schedule release coming out tomorrow. I don't know why they announced the home openers today. You have all this other news going on. Announce home openers tomorrow. Announce the full schedule on the 3rd. Space this out a little bit. But now we know when the next Oiler home game is. The last one was played last Monday. Their next regular season game at the very least. Who cares about preseason? That will take place Wednesday, October 9th against Winnipeg. So it does feel like a little bit earlier of a season start for some people when it comes to that. Overall for you, your thoughts on what the Oilers... we're not expecting a lot from the Edmonton Oilers. What would you like them to still potentially try to go do today? I know there was some people wishful thinking. We're hoping that Chris Tanev would be a target for the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, that's not happening. But where would you like to see the Oilers go? What would you like to see the Oilers potentially accomplish? 780-218-9999. That's the Paris Jewelers inbox, or you can jump in to the nasty chat on that. And Zach, what are you looking at for the Oilers? What would you like to see maybe Jeff Jackson and the team to possibly get done potentially today?
Try and re-sign Henrique, I think, could be a possibility. But, I mean, he is walking. There's names that I got out there written down, like Anthony Duclair or Viktor Arvidsson. Anthony Mantha was signed. He was one of my names. Wenberg's out there and Kasha. They were supposedly interested in. So to go after somebody like that. But to sign a decent middle six winger is needed. Right now, I guess, the top guys are there. Nuge, McDavid, Hyman, Holloway, Draisaitl, Kane. And then the third line's a bit sparse. Those wingers for McLeod are kind of gone. And then on the bottom line, of course, Connor Brown being re-signed and Derek Ryan's there. But to fill in the middle six a bit is a big thing. Henrique played really well. And to try and get him back should be one of the priorities for the Oilers. It's Vinnie Desharnais walking a little bit and checking
Vinnie
out his
Desharnais
market.
seems like one that, like it's Evander Kane from a couple years ago. He's going to go look to see if he can get more money. But I feel like at some point he's going to have to circle back around because maybe all that extra cash isn't there, and he's going to have to evaluate, is that extra $300,000, $400,000 worth leaving the Edmonton Oilers who have a potential chance of winning a Stanley Cup?
Yeah, and at that point, like, really, it's what you want. If you want the money, sure. But
and when you're a guy like Vinnie Desharnais, like a few $100,000 actually is quite a bit. It's not like the one difference between the Evander Kane comparison I have there is at least Evander Kane over his history, he brought in some money throughout his career. I'm not going to go into everything about that with what happened with his money, but like he had a bunch of career earnings. This is a chance for Vinnie Desharnais to go make a little bit of that extra cash, and for someone that maybe didn't or hasn't so far in his career been able to capitalize on, or not capitalize, he's just he's a late bloomer when it comes to the NHL, hasn't been able to get that big money yet, or for him that bigger money, is $300,000-$400,000 potentially, whatever it might be, really worth it? And it might be, like you're trying to set yourself up long term here, but also if you just want to win that Stanley Cup, what better place are you going to go? And what Stanley Cup contender might be looking at Vinnie Desharnais? I don't think there would be a lot. So that's the value you have to start thinking if you're Vinnie Desharnais in his camp is, unless someone's really going to overpay him, is it worth leaving that money when you have a chance to potentially win a Stanley Cup? Hey, Dustin Nielson, he's calling them the champs next year.
Yeah, he's already called it.
If you're signing with any of the other 31 teams, you're just playing hockey next year for money. The Oilers are winning the Stanley Cup next year, so that's where the Oilers are. Like, they are going to be a favorite going into next season. So why walk? But that's what I have a sense with Vinnie Desharnais, is that I could just see that this being a situation where the Oilers go talk, and he'll go talk, and then eventually he'll circle back to the Edmonton Oilers because maybe it's not fully out there. Did see in the nasty chat Blair saying these prices are insane. Resign our guys and stay the hell away from the rest. And that's always a big thing of free agency. Is there's a lot of money and a lot of mistakes that happen today. It also doesn't help for teams that are trying to keep their players potentially. It helps for the players that the cap's going up. Like this is the first sizable jump we are seeing for the salary cap since pre-COVID. And so now teams are naturally getting that little bit of extra cash that they could go spend, and GMs love spending that cap. As much as we've learned how important it is to maybe hold on to some cap, how valuable it is to have cap space, GMs just love spending it all completely.
And speaking of spending, Jeff Jackson's already spending.
Is he now?
As reported by Elliot Friedman, Viktor Arvidsson to Edmonton. So that was one of the guys that I had on my radar. I've had him kind of in mind.
Who's reporting this one?
Fit, Elliot Friedman, he tweeted just a minute ago. And then, we were talking about Steven Stamkos to the Predators and everything, and I know we're here in Edmonton, but man, what a big splash for the Predators here. So, as reported earlier, Pierre LeBrun tweeted out that they were in talks. The Predators were in talks with multiple players, but now Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, and Brady Shea have all agreed to terms in Nashville. So Stamkos, 4 years, $8 million average, and then Marchessault signed for 5 years at $5.5 million average, and Brady Shea for 7 years at $7 million. So, wow, what a big splash for the Predators, and they took a lot of big names. Probably, the biggest, I'd say, in Stamkos heading out there.
We will get to the Preds, because there's a lot to discuss with the Preds and how much did they go up in terms of Western Conference power rankings, if you want there. But Viktor Arvidsson coming to the Edmonton Oilers. As you said, Elliot Friedman, not seeing any terms in any way, shape, or form at this moment. He's a 31-year-old. Last season with the LA Kings, 18 games, 6 goals, 9 assists for 15 points. The 2 years prior, he was 59 and 49 points. He must have just got tired of playing the Edmonton Oilers in the playoffs. He must have just got tired of the last 3 seasons, having his season come to a close because he's going up against the Edmonton Oilers, and decided if you can't beat them, you might as well join them. So Viktor Arvidsson coming to the Oilers as per Elliot Friedman. We'll keep tabs on terms of this deal. Your thoughts on that? Nasty chat right now. Paris Jewelers inbox 780-218-9999. Zachticum, your thoughts?
I think it's a great signing for the Edmonton Oilers. That's somebody who has had some issues with injuries. He only played 18 games last year for the Kings, but he came back and got 15 points in 18 games. He's a gamer. He goes out and he has a lot of upside really on both sides of the ice, but his biggest ability and gift is his offensive talent. He can score, he can make plays, and he just seems like a great fit in that middle six for the Oilers. You could really bump him up if you have to, if there's injuries or chemistry just isn't there. You can play him on a lot of lines, it seems like, and he's good in a lot of different ways. And seeing him on the Oilers is a good sight to see. He played 4 games, of course, 5 games in that first round, and he did have 3 points, losing against the Oilers once again. So if you can't beat him, join him, as he said. And
a really nice terms on this. Dusty saying Oilers give Arvidsson $4 million per year for only 2 years.
Wow.
I like that.
Very short, yeah.
I like the term, like the length of that contract. $4 million is a nice number, and it's only 2 years long, which would be that's when Connor's contract would kick in. Because next year, Leon's contract will kick in. The year after would be Connor's contract kicking in, so that comes off the books. And by then, by 2 summers from now, like next year they'll sign Leon. The year after they'll sign Connor. No, Leon's contract goes up. It goes in next year. The year after, Connor's contract will be. I think the cap will be probably around $100 million. I won't be surprised by that. So there'll be a lot of cash kind of opening up for them. According to Cap Friendly, enjoy Cap Friendly for the last few days before the Washington Capitals shut it down to the entire world. The Edmonton Oilers had coming into today, this includes the Jack Campbell buyout. 15 players signed, cap space projected at just shy of $12 million. So with $4 million, that leaves $8 million for the Oilers. They do need to still sign Dylan Holloway, Philip Broberg. Those two I don't think are going to be too crazy of contracts. So the Oilers do still have a little bit of money to potentially spend today. What do we have in the nasty chat? Danny Moss, Arvidsson could die for us now in the playoffs. Also, some people saying maybe replacing Fogle, as Fogle is a free agent there. I'll say this about it's not diving, it's embellishment, it's gamesmanship, and the Oilers need a little more of it. I'm one of those people that will go that way. I'm okay with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you watch a lot of soccer.
If he could draw a couple more penalties for the Edmonton Oilers, I'm okay with it. Not gonna lie, in any way, shape, or form. So
part of the game.
Well, you can make it part of your game. Not the diving part. Like I'm not fully into the diving part of it. Embellish a little bit more. Well, force the ref's hand a little bit. That's what I would like to see. So if they're bringing in that guy in Arvidsson, I'm okay with that, especially if he brings a little bit of that to the Edmonton Oilers. Maybe it can help, Connor and Leon find a way to just get a couple more power plays.
Now would do a lot.
That's just me when it comes
with
to
their lethal power play. And apparently David Pagnotta tweeted out that apparently the Oilers are poking around for Jeff Skinner as well, because he was bought out for the Sabres. But now with the Arvidsson signing, and I believe he's a 5-time 20-goal scorer, 2-time 30-goal scorer, Arvidsson. And for Skinner, though, he's had a good year. I don't think it was last year, but the year before, he had 82 points on that huge contract. But now he's bought out, but he has 0 playoff experience. 0. No games. First player to play 1,000 games. He reached 1,000 games played in the regular season and has yet to be in the playoffs once.
That's a risky one. That's the reason it's a big risk for me when it comes to Jeff Skinner. We've seen some of those players that, I know other fans right now are a little upset with Ryan McLeod and his lack of playoff performance or production. It happened with Jordan Eberle a number of years ago when he was in the playoffs. The Oilers aren't a team that needs regular season performers. Connor Brown is the perfect example of that. There's a guy who, I'm included, was frustrated with Connor Brown all season long because he brought absolutely nothing to this franchise on the ice during the regular season. But in the end, helped this team out when it mattered most, which is the playoffs. And that's what this team needs. It's all about what happens in the playoffs. Now, I guess you could make the argument for the regular season at the very least. This Oilers team, one of the reasons maybe they didn't hoist the Stanley Cup, they didn't have home ice in the end. So that they got to go get the home ice. But still, in the end, I want playoff performance on this team. And I don't know if Jeff Skinner's a playoff performer, and this guy's played 1,000 NHL games. That, to me, is where that risk comes in. So if they do ultimately get Jeff Skinner, it'd be the money. It'd be the money that would absolutely have to be very, that I'll be focused on so much.
Now, you can't pay him you're not going to go out there and pay him $4 million, $5 million. He's I think well past his prime, and he has money. That's the thing now. He signed that huge contract, and he's bought out. He's going to be getting money. He's going to be getting paid regardless. So it might be that situation that he's looking for that championship team himself, right? And I feel like if you are Jeff Skinner, you would want to sign with the Oilers. You would want to sign with that team that really is guaranteed that playoff spot and made it to the final, lost to the Stanley Cup champions 3 years in a row. So for Jeff Skinner personally to nose that out, I feel like he would be willing to take that huge pay cut just to play with Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers.
I guess we'll wait and see. And what comes... I'm clicking the wrong buttons here. What's going to come out of that? So once again, if you're just tuning in, Viktor Arvidsson, he's with the Edmonton Oilers now. $4 million, 2 years deal. Oilers also today signing Connor Brown, 1 year, $1 million. They signed James Hamblin, Noah Philp to two-way contracts, and Sam Carrick is going to the New York Rangers, so he will not be returning. And with Arvidsson, so Dusty, we'll have Dusty on at 11 o'clock. He says Arvidsson's top six winger, so then that's not a replacement for Warren Fogle then? That would, like... I'm just trying to... sure. So you got Hyman, Nuge, Leon, Connor, Arvidsson. Who's six? Who fills out that top six then for the Edmonton Oilers?
You bump Kane down, maybe?
Well, the one thing, the reason I didn't say Kane is there's a lot of rumblings that the Oilers are looking to move Evander Kane. That's the one thing. And look, Evander Kane, by all accounts, he's building a house in Edmonton or built a house in Edmonton. It seems like he's enjoyed his time with the Edmonton Oilers, and he has a full no-move clause, so he dictates all of this. But it does sound like that the Oilers, or at least over the last couple of days, have been trying to move on from Evander Kane. So I'm just also not so sure yet I'm ready to pencil in Evander Kane fully to this lineup. Dusty in the nasty chat saying Kane or Holloway with Draisaitl and Arvidsson. So yeah, Holloway getting that bump up. That would make sense. What do you think about that, Oilers fans, as your top six for next year? McDavid, Hyman, Nuge, Draisaitl, Holloway, Arvidsson. Does that work for you of a top six going into next season, and then see whatever else happens? I'm not gonna. I really hope we see something defensively from the Edmonton Oilers today. It would almost have to be two-parted here. It'd be nice to see maybe a Cody Ceci deal where he's on his way out, and then the Oilers find some sort of way to bring in another defenseman to fill out that top four, because he can't be going into next season with both Darnell Nurse and Cody Ceci again. Like, he can't be going that way. We saw it not work this year. I don't think you can risk going into next season with that as a pairing. I know some will say you could address your defensive needs through next season, maybe at the deadline, a la Matthias Ekholm last year. But the thing I would say with that is, or 2 years ago, you did it 2 years ago, but you couldn't address it last season. And if you're in that mindset where you need home ice, I'd rather have a I'd rather improve my top four defense right now going into the season than waiting for the trade at deadline. So lots happening in free agency. We also had some Sean Monahan going to the Columbus Blue Jackets. 5 years, $5.5 million. I'm trying to find the Zadorov deal. I just lost it here.
Well, he is going to Boston.
Yeah, I just want to see. It's not on this deal. Zadorov, 6 years, $5 million with the Boston Bruins. Elias Lindholm also going to the Boston Bruins. 7 years, $7.75 million. So the Boston Bruins making some moves while the Vancouver Canucks, they just lose two big pieces or two key pieces. The Canucks had a great season this year. They looked really good. All credit to them. For Canucks fans, and I know none of you want sympathy for the Vancouver Canucks fans, and I understand that. But it sucks for them that they lost Demko in the playoffs, because to see what this season could have been for the Canucks for them would have been fascinating. But it also felt like it was a one-year thing. That it was only going to be 1 year, that there was too many players that could potentially move, and now they're moving. And I don't know if the Canucks are going to have the ability to do what they did last year going into next season. You'd have to think the Oilers are going to be a better regular season team through 82 games. You'd have to think that. The Golden Knights are still always going to be the Golden Knights. But I think now that we have to look at it and go, I think the Canucks are taking a step back. And at least with the LA Kings, they got a goalie. Maybe that helps them out and keeps them with that Canucks. Maybe they could potentially surpass the Canucks. But yeah, that the couple big losses for the Vancouver Canucks. We'll see what they could do next year without that. Also forgot to mention earlier, Jacob Chychrun. He's been traded from the Ottawa Senators to the Washington Capitals for Nick Jensen, defenseman, and 2026 a third-round pick. So Jacob Chychrun to the Washington Capitals. Matt Iwanyk, Zach Kubusch, a.k.a. Zachticum. This is Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports. It's our NHL free agency special coming up at around 11 o'clock. We've got Dustin Nielson. He'll join us live from Calgary. He's trying to make his way still back to Edmonton after calling some games. Those cancellations of flights wreaking havoc on a lot of people. And Tom Gazzola will join us momentarily. I think he's already on the balcony, so we'll get to him right away here. I just, in the nasty chat, Danny saying, put Kane on LTI for next season. He'd have to agree to that. It would be nice. I'll say that right now. He has to. Who had it? Tim Peel had it today. That Evander Kane was getting 5 to 6 injections before every game to get ready for the playoffs. Like, he's not healthy. He's going to have some sort of surgery that's coming up. Surgery's going to take too long. That's all you have to say. Surgery's going to take too long, and magically he'll be ready to go on game 82. That's what I would like to see, but we'll have to wait and see. That's the full Vegas move. Let's bring him in right now. Tom Gazzola. He's on. Oh, wow, that is loud. What kind of headphone are you on? Oh, there he is.
Regular ones.
Oh, there we go. Okay, well, like when you're not talking, you just hear like the downtown noise.
Oh.
Now it's all good.
Sorry.
Now you started talking. It settled it in. We're all good. Tommy, happy Canada Day. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Matthew. Good morning. I hope you're doing well. Good
course.
show. You and Zach are great. You guys are crushing it. Nicely done.
Appreciate that. It's great having you on, though, as you are our Oiler guy. Let's start with the biggest news and Viktor Arvidsson coming to this team. Your thoughts on this deal?
Interesting. And the contract's okay, right? 2 years, $4 million per. Feisty little guy. The question is, Matty, is he going to stay healthy? Because he hasn't stayed healthy for the last couple of years. That's been an issue. He missed 2 postseason runs with the Kings, and by runs, I mean losses to the Oilers, which you joked about earlier in the show. This is good. He's tenacious, but I do question about the team getting literally smaller. And, we're going to get to Jeff Skinner here right away because there is some smoke behind the Jeff Skinner rumor to the Oilers. And I've been told that, this is a possibility for Edmonton. We've seen bigger teams have success, and we talked about it on Hello Hockey, and now bigger kids are getting drafted. Viktor Arvidsson, not a big guy by any means. I think he's like a 5'8", but he's thick and he's got a solid base and he plays bigger than he is, which is great. But he's a proven player in the NHL, and I think that's the most important thing. And then the other thing, I think I see a lot of the nasty chat and the comments coming in. And people, they're not doing anything. Well, you can always improve your team during the season. And we've seen that from the Oilers in years past. That was kind of one of Kenny Holland's MOs, but he's not around anymore. So the new staff and whoever takes over as GM, that'll be their thing that they're going to have to work on. And I saw some comments about Cody Ceci as well, not being moved out. And I understand that. I have no issue with people, wanting an upgrade on Cody Ceci. But, yeah, the Viktor Arvidsson deal, it's one piece that comes in, and we're going to be hearing more from the Oilers, I think, in a little bit.
To your point of just not staying healthy, of the last 6 seasons, last year he played 77 games, so it was his closest to a full season. But beyond that, it was 18 last year regular season, 66, 50, 57, 58. It wasn't since 17-18 that he played 78 games, although there would be that COVID bubble year, which is 2021, which he played 50 games, I guess, and it was a 56-game season. So basically 2 out of every 3 years or so. He doesn't play a full season. Is this a guy that you see just, when healthy, slotting in the top 6 with the Edmonton Oilers, or is he a top 9 guy that this team's bringing in?
I think top 9 probably is more fair, although we've seen movement and we do see it. We saw it a lot in the playoffs. We saw it a lot in the regular season. So depending on who's going, who's not going at certain points of the season, I think Arvidsson could be a guy that gets slid up to, maybe he gets up to McDavid's line, maybe he gets up to Draisaitl's. Like, it's just situation depending. And then what if somebody's playing well, or what if you want to stack up big bodies like an Evander Kane when he's healthy, if he's healthy, into the top 6 because you want to go big and heavy, and then you slide Arvidsson down. So I'd probably classify him more as top 9, more so than anything. And we'll see, if his play could dictate where he makes a home. And I know there's always that second line right wing kind of spot that was supposed to be Connor Brown's, that was not Connor Brown's by like the 10th game of the season. That's something that maybe Arvidsson could slide into. But again, there's some more moving pieces that could come into play here and change things around. So we'll see. But yeah, top 9 is probably a good way to classify Viktor Arvidsson for the Oilers.
Just quickly, Vancouver Canucks announcing that they've signed Jake DeBrusk, 7-year deal, $5.5 million AAV. So Jake DeBrusk going to the Canucks, 7 years, $5.5 million. I know some Oiler fans were interested in maybe the Oilers going to get Jake DeBrusk. That is not going to happen. You mentioned it, Tommy, when it comes to Jeff Skinner. Do you like the idea of Jeff Skinner with the Edmonton Oilers?
Me personally, no.
Yes. Okay.
Not really. No, I respect Jeff Skinner and the type of hockey player he is. I respect him for what he's done in the National Hockey League. Zachticum was talking about this guy having 1,000 games under his belt. No playoff games, not a single one, which is kind of like, well, what do you make of that? That's weird. So, I again, smaller guy, not a heavy, big body playoff type of guy, but he's never played in the playoffs. What if he's good in the playoffs? Those are unknowns. It's interesting, but from my perspective, he's not really a guy I would want. I don't know what the vision is for him from an Edmonton standpoint, but when I asked this morning, is this legitimate? Could you guys be looking at Jeff Skinner? I was told, yes, there's smoke there. And then I was told also smoke with Viktor Arvidsson. So we'll see if Edmonton does reach a deal with him. But personally, do I like it? Not particularly. And that's with all due respect to how good Jeff Skinner's been in the NHL.
Well, that's where I am with that, because it's just, as you say, he could be good in the playoffs, but he might. We don't know, though. And I think an Oilers team that is wanting to win that Stanley Cup, I don't think you can go with that complete unknown of, we're going to bring this guy in, and we don't know, though, if he could produce at all in the playoffs, because we have nothing to base it off of. After 1,000 NHL career games.
Yeah.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. It is. It's kind of rolling the dice, but I suppose they rolled the dice on Connor Brown, and he was Michael Pekka and Peter Klima combined. Hashtag Summer of Brown.
Summer of Brown. What did you make of that deal? It seemed like a little bit of good faith from both sides, I would say, but especially Connor Brown to the Edmonton Oilers, knowing that he got a good chunk from the Oilers last year, didn't really fully produce in the regular season, and he comes back on a nice deal. Yeah.
I don't mind it. It's easy to swallow, and if Connor Brown's going to play like the guy that we watched in rounds 2, 3, and 4 of the playoffs this year, I think that's great. I think that's the type of player he likes to be consistently. I think that is part of his repertoire, is being just that feisty, tenacious, good skating, smart player, decent with the puck, right decisions. That's Connor Brown. That's who they thought they were getting, and unfortunately went off to a horrible start, and we know that those knee injuries are really hard to bounce back from, and it does take more than a calendar year, to get going, and then he finally did, and so this could be a good deal. Yeah, they front-loaded, gave him that monster contract this past season, and so his comments at the end of the season, garbage bag day, the availability says, "My heart's here." I think that was a tell, and he seems like a pretty logical, smart, reasonable guy, and he knows that he probably stole some money from Edmonton this year, and takes a nice team-friendly deal, maybe to reward the team, repay them, and kind of in kind after what they did for him last year.
What are you hearing with the Oilers in regards to both Adam Henrique and Matthias Janmark?
Yanmark, there's one that they want to bring back. The money has to be right. I can't imagine he would be asking for that big of a salary increase. I mean, non-existent offensively outside of 1 week this past season in the regular season, and then playoff performer who shows up in a formidable combination with Connor Brown, especially on the penalty kill. So yeah, mutual interest there. Just the money has to be right for both sides. Obviously, Edmonton needs to be conscious of the cap. So it would be good to see him come back, and we'll see if they can find a deal for him. And then with Adam Henrique, I was told today that he really liked his time here, probably more than anticipated. And then, would probably be open to coming back, but knows that the money would have to work here and can probably get more money somewhere else. So likely he takes a look around the block before he, circles back to Edmonton and says, hey, you know what, let's try to find a deal here. But so him probably walking, I would assume, because I think there'd be a team out there that would have interest in throwing him a few more shekels than the Oilers would, just because of the cap situation for Edmonton right now. But these guys ended the season on good terms with this organization. That's 2 years in a row, Maddie, and for good reason. I mean, they go to the Cup final. Last year, they lose to the Cup winners. 2 years ago, they lose to the eventual Cup winners after a dabble and taste of the conference finals. So Yanmark, potentially, I'd say more likely coming back than Adam Henrique. And then Adam Henrique's going to see what's out there and try to chase some money because he is 34 years old. That's another thing about Henrique. I like him. I have nothing but respect for him. I think that was a great addition to the Oilers, a good rental player. But him staying long-term, I thought, is a bit of a reach. But who knows? I mean, Kane took a walk and a lap around free agency a couple seasons ago and summers ago and realized that nobody was going to pay him $7+ million per season. And he circled back to Edmonton and they said, okay, well, here's your deal. That could happen with Henrique, but probably unlikely, especially if he's chasing money and then somewhere a little more temperate than this. It's July 1st and I'm sitting here in a jacket and it's cloudy and kind of raining.
It's supposed to be nice the rest of the day. Like,
the
forecast is supposed to be like come 3 o'clock. Supposed to turn a little bit, but the wind's going to still be there. It's like yesterday was beautiful for half the day, and we're just not getting the luck right now with the weather. As you're talking about the Evander Kane situation, is just looping back around a couple of years ago. I feel like that's what we might see with Vinnie Desharnais, where he'll go try to get some money, but at some point he's going to have to realize that extra cash that he's going to get, is it worth giving up the chance on a playoff run and a Stanley Cup run once again with the Edmonton Oilers? What's your sense of right now what's going on with Vinnie Desharnais?
Yeah, sounds like he and Fogle likely leaving.
Okay.
I don't think anybody is too heartbroken about the potential of Fogle going somewhere else. I mean, Fogle, first 40-point season, first 20-plus goal season as well. Vinnie Desharnais, this is a guy that, what is he now, 27, 28 years old? They drafted him late. They developed him. They were patient with him. They gave him his chance. He obviously liked it here. This is where he became a full-time NHLer. But he's not a young guy. This is not a guy that has a ton of contracts or a bunch of contract negotiations left. He wants to capitalize. And I think, there's an understanding from both sides. Edmonton can't really probably match what some other places might offer him. And it's just unfortunate. And it's like it's a problem, but it's a good problem. It's a kudos to the Oilers for doing their homework on a guy, being patient with them, sticking with him. It kind of goes in the face of some of the people that say that the Oilers don't draft well and they don't develop their players. Well, they have a bunch of guys on the roster that were drafted and developed by them. I know a bunch of them were first rounders and all that, but you need to hit on your first rounders. Desharnais is one of those ones where it's like, thank you and good luck somewhere else if they are going to give you that much money and that much term, and that the Oilers just can't offer that to him. So if it doesn't work out for him elsewhere, he doesn't find the right deal, I'm sure he could circle back to Edmonton. But it seems like Philip Broberg has kind of moved up in the depth chart as of right now, and he's going to be a full-timer. And then, could they move out Cody Ceci? Is there a deal there? Yeah, I suppose they could look for that. Nothing yet, but that back end, like it's busy right now. I don't think you're getting rid of Brett Kulak either.
A lot of talk over the weekend about Evander Kane, potentially the Oilers trying to shop him and trade him away. He does have the no-move clause. Have you heard anything on the Oilers trying to send Evander Kane packing to open up some cap space?
I think they'd be open to it. I was told that Kane, his injury situation, and obviously the contract with the no-movement clause, he holds all the cards, so he could kibosh anything. that the Oilers try to work out, unless it's so sweet for him that he can't say no. So that makes me think that it's likely he's just back here next season. But if there were a team out there that would be like, hey, we'll take Evander Kane, we'll offer you this, I think Edmonton would listen on that. But probably more so in the unlikely bracket for Evander Kane being shipped out. But I think they're all ears when it comes to that situation. It's hard to maneuver that because of the no movement, his injury situation, and how things kind of ended last season for him.
How much better are the Nashville Predators today? How much higher do they go up in the Western Conference standings? Are they?
Contender?
Yeah.
Contender? Yeah. Barry Trotz, man, no slouch. Well done. I mean, he's made the transition from coach to GM. How about him playing hardball with Tyson Barrie? Like, this guy's no nonsense. And Nashville is a good hockey market. Nashville has a lot of appealing and alluring traits to it, not only as a team, but as just a place to play. And so good on them for getting Stamkos, and good on them for going out and getting Marchessault. And who did they get? Montour? Is that what I saw? But yeah, they're a good team, man.
Montour's going
Who's
to
the defenseman they got?
Montour's going to Seattle. 7 years,
Right.
7.14.
Who's the defenseman Nashville got?
I'm just taking a quick
can't see
look
it here.
here. Brady Skagey. Oh, I'll pronounce that
Brady
wrong.
Shea. Yeah,
Shea,
that's a
there we
great
go.
pickup.
7 years,
So,
$7 million.
Yeah, the one thing that Nashville was lacking was depth. They had a good first line, and then they had 3 third lines basically, and they don't have depth. Now all of a sudden they've got star power that creates depth. They got a lot of guys who can score goals. The question mark with Nashville, if you want to be contrarian and look at them negatively, is they're old. That's an old team now. All their big guns are older guys. I think Philip Forsberg's probably one of the younger guys, and he was drafted, in like 2012? So he's been around for a while.
And lastly, anything else just really stand out to you across hockey that's happened?
It's interesting watching Utah, because Utah all of a sudden is, they were the doormat as the Arizona Coyotes, and now people are looking at them going, that might be a decent place to play, and Bill Armstrong has money to work with, and they have an owner that's not a psycho, and giving them an opportunity to build something. So all of a sudden, Utah has turned itself into a franchise with respectability. I just got an update now. Sounds like Skinner talk is picking up, so keep an eye out
With
for
the
that.
Oilers.
With the Oilers,
Just to clarify,
yes. So that looks like it might be headed towards happening. So just be ready for that if it does happen. And then, that's it. Like, this is crazy. It's funny to watch all these deals basically being broken before free agency formally opened up. Good, because I want to enjoy Canada Day. I don't want to be sitting watching TV and looking at my screen, because this is supposed to be a holiday. And I always, Maddie, hated Canada Day during my time at Oilers TV, because I was stuck in the office, and all I wanted to do is be out on the patio having a good time with friends. And now, thankfully GMs and the insiders are breaking everything. So hopefully this is all wrapped up in a neat little package by the time you're off the air.
Yeah, I think most of it will be done. It's there were a few years because of the CBA and stuff like that, or then the COVID years where it wasn't on July 1, and it was wonderful because you got to enjoy July 1. And then you still got free agency another day. But there's also just something so perfect that on Canada Day we have one of the biggest days on the hockey calendar. Like, it does work out. It just causes work. But
Maddie,
this is fun.
That's true. This is fun. I have one more for you.
Shoot.
I know Jake DeBrusk signed with Vancouver, and there's some hope that he would sign with Edmonton. A couple of years ago, I was told that he would have interest in coming here, coming back home. And then there was talk about him going to the Flames in recent days, but good for him going to Vancouver. I like Jake. I've known him since he was 10 years old, and I'm very happy. And
nice and close for his dad to go watch him.
Exactly. Like, the family can hop out to Vancouver now that the WestJet mechanic strike is over.
Oh, is it over?
Everybody that's stuck in Vegas,
I didn't even notice.
It's over. It's over, apparently.
Good.
Everyone who's stuck in Vegas, like all the NHL people from Western Canada are stuck there right now. poor Patty Steinberg and all of them are stuck.
Oh
out there.
no,
They're
stuck
dusting
in
Calgary right
Vegas.
now.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to expense another
Terrible.
couple nights
That's
at the
awful.
hotel, and oh boy, we're gonna go see the show. We'll just expense that.
Yeah, exactly. Just to end this on Edmonton kid coming back home, and it didn't happen with Jake DeBrusk. It doesn't always work out for these guys, and Edmonton kids playing in their hometown. It sounds like a dream come true. As an Edmonton kid growing up here, I was like, wouldn't it be amazing to be an Edmonton Oiler? Well, one of my friends, Mark Vistrick, played for the Oilers for a year. I think, Mark, I won't speak for him, but I got the sense that he did not enjoy being an Oiler as much as one would think from the outside looking in. Belzy doesn't have the best stories to tell about his time as an Oiler. Those are things you'd have to ask him. So I've heard, and from others as well over the years that, are Edmonton people that ended up playing for the Oilers, it doesn't always, work out to be a dream come true, and it can be more difficult and complicated than we think. So good for Jake going to Vancouver. He is still close to home. It's a quick flight away, 1 hour. And so, yeah, you know what? He's a great kid too. But I think that one, good for him.
Tommy, enjoy the rest of your Canada Day. We'll let you go. What you got plans? Riverhawks? What,
Maybe. I just, so how Canada is this? It says Gretzky, but it's a Canada shirt.
Oh, that was a good shirt you got from them last year.
That was a good one. Yeah, that was a good one. So I don't know, man. The day is young. We'll figure it out. It should be fun.
Well, thanks for chopping on, and we'll chat with you tomorrow, Tommy.
See you, buddy.
There's Tom Gazzola live from his balcony downtown Edmonton, helping us further understand what's going on with the Edmonton Oilers. For those that are just tuning in, Viktor Arvidsson, a $4 million two-year deal with the Edmonton Oilers. Connor Brown, 1 year, $1 million with the Oilers. James Hamblin, Noah Philp, each getting two-way deals. Noah Philp, a 1 year deal. Hamblin, a 2-year deal. Both $775,000. A lot of reports and rumblings. Tommy having it there. Things heating up between the Edmonton Oilers and Jeff Skinner. As for the other free agencies of the Oilers or free agents, it looks like Fogle will be gone. Adam Henrique doesn't look, as of right now, likely to be coming back to the Oilers, nor will the same could be said for Vinnie Desharnais, whilst the Oilers do have still some interest in Matthias Janmark re-signing with this team. So we'll keep things locked here on this EST free agency special right now. Matthew Iwanyk, Zachticum, Zach Kubusch with you here. He's changed the handle on there to the full name now from Zachticum here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in iHeartRadio as well as those watching on YouTube in about 10 minutes time or so. We'll have Dustin Nielson join us for a little bit before he drives back to Edmonton as he's coming back to town. His flight got canceled, so he's going to be having to drive up this morning, but he'll give us a few minutes to go into what the Edmonton Oilers are doing. Your thoughts, 780-218-9999. That is the Parish Jewelers inbox, or you can jump into the nasty chat. You want to jump in here?
Oh, well, I was going to say, his flight was delayed there. He's got to drive up. He's not stuck in Vegas. That would be terrible. Oh, man, that would be terrible. But, yeah, Canada Day, this is the best day. I can't lie. This is my favorite time for the NHL, just seeing where all these crazy signings, trades, and everything. Stamkos leaving the Lightning.
That's going to be weird.
What?
It's going to be very weird watching Steven Stamkos in a different uniform.
Yeah, it's one of those players that you never think would have left. I thought he'd be a Lightning for life, but they couldn't come to terms, and he's got to get money. He deserves more. He deserves $8 million, definitely. He deserves that money, and he's seen something in Nashville, which is huge. Now they're big. They're a big team.
If someone's going to give you the $8 million and you're 34 years old and you've got the rings, why not? That's the if he had never won, then it'd be a little bit of a different story. But hey, now go try to do something with a different team in a different conference even. So it's not even like you're going to go up against the Lightning too much. You got your 2 games a year and maybe potentially in a Stanley Cup final. I also respect greatly the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's not easy to do, to take your number 1 overall pick from many years ago, face of your franchise for how many years now, and part ways like that. Where you walk, and there's a lot of franchises. We could look at the Cup winners of the Blackhawks, the Cup winners of the Kings. You stick around with that core. You just want to keep it going because you kind of feel like you owe it to them. And the Lightning here in this situation went, we're going to go with Jake Gensel. All the best, Steven. Thanks for everything. And credit to Julian Breezeball for doing something like that. That's not an easy thing to do. And they've gone out and done that. But now the Nashville Predators, that's making some nice moves. They'll improve a little bit in the Central. Would have to look back, go through all the teams. Jonathan Drouin re-signing with the Colorado Avalanche. That's one move that has happened. The Avs, Jets, Preds, Stars. That's going to be a tough division again next year. And, you're still going to have Oilers, Vegas. We'll see what the LA Kings could fully do. Jake DeBrusk is a nice move, but losing Zadorov and Lindholm is going to hurt the Canucks. So we'll see what happens to the Vancouver Canucks. Maybe the Pacific isn't as tough next year, but we've been saying that for the last number of years, and there's always been that somewhat surprise. So we'll see how things fully play out.
And it is confirmed now that Warren Fogle is no longer an Oiler. He's heading to the Kings, as per David Pagnotta. He just tweeted that right now. So Warren Fogle to the LA Kings. So they swap, players in free agency. Viktor Arvidsson coming to Edmonton on a 2-year term, $4 million. And the details for Warren Fogle's contract have been tweeted just yet, but he's off to LA.
So he wants to get used to losing to the Oilers now? Arvidsson wants to get to the winning, and he's going to leave to the losing? Yeah. I seriously hope we do not get an Oilers Kings Part 4. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. Please no. Please no. Don't want that one at all. We've seen it.
Yeah, I don't want to watch the same movie the fourth time. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, some movies are worth it. This one isn't. This ain't no Godfather, which I will watch multiple times. Some other news that has happened. Cam Talbot to the Detroit Red Wings, 2-year, $2.5 million deal. Matt Murray going to the Leafs. 1 year, $875,000.
Yeah, so Joseph Woll,
Matt Murray, Anthony Stolarz.
Yeah, 3 goaltenders. And Matt Murray, signing, what, $775 you just said?
$875.
$875.
Yep.
So under $1 million. Just there as a veteran presence. There's always goaltending troubles in Toronto. There always has been, it seems like. So just having that third guy there and having that veteran presence is pretty big, even though, Stolarz just came off winning a Stanley Cup, so...
Brandon Montour to the Seattle Kraken, a 7-year, $7.14 million. Noah Gregor, who I think Jim Matheson threw out there as maybe somebody for the Oilers. He's to the Sens, 1 year, $850,000. Matt Roy, 6 years, a $5.75 million cap hit with the Washington Capitals. I don't know if we've officially confirmed it, but you mentioned David Perron to the Sens. That is done at 2 years, $4 million. Who else have we not mentioned as of yet on this show? For those earlier that have missed it, Tanev also to the Toronto Maple Leafs, $4.5 million cap hit for 6 years with a full no-move clause. He's 34 years old. That's going to be interesting to watch in the final few years of that deal. They also brought in Oliver Ekman-Larsson, 4 years, $3.5 million. Jacob Slavin with the Hurricanes, 8 years, $6.46 million deal. And Jake DeBrusk, 7 years, $5.5 million with the Vancouver Canucks. I did see just one more. Everything's just flying around.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Frank Saravalli, Matt Duchene has a 1 year extension with the Dallas Stars at $3 million. So that's what it is.
And Kiefer Sherwood and Danton Heinen to the Canucks as well, as previously mentioned, Jake DeBrusk. Kiefer Sherwood, 2 years at 1.5, and I lost it here, but Danton Heinen signed on a 2-year term. There's also some smaller signings. Jake Bean going to the Flames. So they didn't re-sign Oliver Shillington. So he's a free agent, and then they signed Bean, who wasn't tender qualified by the Columbus Blue Jackets. Alex Nylander's still out there. There's way too many players just hovering. And
well, now we're waiting on Jeff Skinner. That's what it sounds like. We're waiting on Jeff Skinner when it comes to the Edmonton Oilers. You threw up a poll on YouTube. Would you like to see the Edmonton Oilers sign Jeff Skinner right now? No, leading the way at 55%. And again, a couple of years ago, 82 points. It was somewhere around there, point-a-game player. It's just to see the 1,000 games played and not a single playoff game, and just that question mark of what would he be in the playoffs? What will he be in the playoffs? That's the part that just concerns me with that. But maybe the money comes in perfect. Maybe the term is just perfect, and you could live with that because it's not that much. So we're waiting to see. Tom Gazzola, who was on with us just not too long ago, he said things are heating up between the Oilers and Jeff Skinner. So we'll just keep things in tune on what's going on there. Rashog also just throwing this out there of TSN. Quote, I believe there was mutual interest between DeBrusk and the Oilers, but they would have had to move some significant money to make that work. So that's where the Oilers are at. They will eventually need to sign Dylan Holloway. They will need to sign Philip Broberg. I don't know if Cap Friendly's fully updated. They do have Arvidsson. So based on Cap Friendly right now, the Oilers have a projected cap space of just below $8 million. They do need to sign Dylan Holloway and Broberg. So that's going to give a few $1 million. So not too much left for the Edmonton Oilers. But that's where if you could move somebody like a Cody Ceci. Well, if you move Cody Ceci, you need to bring in another defender still.
There's Eric Brandstrom out there.
But
Adam
that's a money in,
Boquist.
money out type thing almost there. It's like if you move Ceci, well, you have to use that money at the very least to replace Ceci. It's not like you could just move Ceci and naturally you have someone to fill that hole. Evander Kane would be the one where if you could move Evander Kane, opening up $5.125 million would be quite a bit. That would be a really nice chunk of change for Jeff Jackson and the Edmonton Oilers if they could find that money to work. But it just doesn't seem like they couldn't get the deal. They couldn't find a deal for Jack Campbell, so they ultimately had to buy him out. So maybe it's just a little tough right now for the Edmonton Oilers to go find and make those type of deals, or maybe they just don't want to fully make those deals and give a bunch of assets up just to shed the salary. And I know there's going to be a lot of people, though, that are going to throw out there and with Evander Kane can LTIR him to start the year. And I'm not going to lie. I'll be on that bandwagon to start the year. I'll fully be on that bandwagon to start the year.
It's part of the game. You got to use
right
the
now,
cap
until they take it out.
I mean, the GM, the owners want, like, it's in the game. We can't change the rules. As mad as you can get, sure, you could use it to maybe some of these players come back a little bit sooner than expected. Like you said, you put Evander Kane on the LTR. Game 80, game 81, maybe.
Yeah, he's good to go. Look at that. Look how conveniently that was. And look, if other teams are going to do it, I say do it until they block the rules. Warren Fogle to LA, 3 years, mid $3 million range, according to Elliot Friedman. So Warren Fogle getting in the mid $3 million range to me is somewhere between $3.4 and $3.6 million. But that's what you're seeing for Warren Fogle. The Oilers couldn't give Warren Fogle over $3 million. Viktor Arvidsson at $4 million. Like I know there's the injury concerns, but I'm taking Viktor Arvidsson right now for the money, and only 2 years than a guy like Warren Fogle at this moment.
Yeah, even if it's that much extra, I feel like Arvidsson is. You want to say more of a consistent player, even though his injuries have been there, but he's had a lot more points and he has more offense, I guess, than Fogle. Fogle is speedy. They are different sort of players, and as Tommy alluded to, he isn't biggest guy, but he plays bigger than himself, and he does have that drive in him. And I've always loved the way that he's played. He's always a player that has been on my eye and that I've seen on the ice anytime he's played against the Oilers, whatever team he's been on. And for him to lose to the Oilers for a couple years there and now joining the squad that has put him golfing sooner is kind of ironic to see, but now he's an Oiler, 2 years, $4 million average. So
let's head down to Calgary. Dustin Nielson joining us. This is Edmonton Sports Talk, NHL Free Agency special coverage. Matt Iwanyk, Zach Kubusch, a.k.a. Zachticum, with you here. Dustin Nielson now joining us from Calgary as he's getting set to make the drive up. And is that a CFL?
Get home, buddy. I can't get home. You know what? My travel was pretty good. And then on Saturday, I was in Calgary getting ready to do the game, and I was flying home Sunday. And I was just like, you know what? I was on a WestJet flight. I figured the WestJet flights on Sunday would be canceled. So I proactively switched over to an Air Canada flight for Sunday morning. And the Air Canada flight got canceled. So that sucked a big one. So my family drove down. We got a hotel with 2 huge water slides, went to the Science Center down here yesterday, and now we're going to drive back.
That sounds like a nice little time then. And then nice little vacation, nice little impromptu. I'm sure the kids love that.
Oh, they loved it. Hopefully we'll be back in time. We got tickets to the game tonight, so we'll be going to the Riverhawks game, so it'll be fun.
Oh, and hopefully the weather's nice by the time that gets going. It's just, it hasn't been the greatest start.
I'm worried about the $100,000 hole in one.
Oh, we'll be
Wednesday
fine.
Morning. I don't know, man. I looked yesterday at the forecast. This is not.
I've got cloudy, nothing.
Oh, okay.
It's just cloudy.
We'll take it. That'd be fun. Is my hat
Rain overnight?
What's wrong with this hat?
I don't know. You figure it out. If I look for the hole-in-one $1,000 hole-in-one contest, $100,000, small, like 0.1 millimeter of rain at 7 in the morning that day is what I'm.
That's us. At. That's at 7 in the morning.
Yeah, that's nothing.
But 0.1 millimeters, like a little sprinkle. So
it's absolutely not. It's going to be no problem. So we'll be fine.
All right, no concerns.
We'll be good. Presented by Golf Town, the last qualifier or contestant going to be named. As qualifying opportunities are done, it's going to be named tomorrow on the morning show, and then it gets going Wednesday morning, and then we're a week away from the golf tournament as well. That one I'm focusing a little more on the weather.
The weather looks good for the golf tournament.
Does it?
I've already looked ahead.
It's Alberta really though. Do not tell me until like 2 days out. Dusty, your thoughts? Viktor Arvidsson to the Edmonton Oilers, $4 million, 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of risk, I don't think, with the contract, considering it's just 2 years. $4 million ends up being more than what Fogle ended up getting by going down to LA. I understand everybody's concerns on the injury front. I mean, he doesn't really play full seasons, really hasn't, maybe happened twice in his entire career. But there's that, like, when you watch Arvidsson play, I think when you watch him play, and we've seen him play against the Oilers quite a bit, when he's healthy, he looks like a guy that you're like, man, hate playing against this guy, would like him on my team. And I think that's kind of what you're going to be getting here with the Edmonton Oilers. If he can stay healthy, he put up 59 points 2 years ago playing on the Kings. Like, if he stays healthy, he's not going to get top unit power play time, obviously, at Edmonton. Nobody else does. But if he stays healthy and plays alongside Leon Draisaitl, I mean, it should be 25 goals and 60 points. So I like the pickup. I know he was a name that was linked to Edmonton for a little while here leading into free agency. If he stays healthy, it's a great pickup. If he doesn't stay healthy, you can look at the Oilers and go, well, he never stays healthy. What were you really expecting? So we'll see how it plays out.
The flip side, though, that too is it isn't that risky of a contract, though, because it is only 2 years, $4 million, right? Yeah. Like if it doesn't go well this year, that's a contract I think you could easily dump to someone else.
Yeah, and it's off the books no matter what by the time you have to re-sign McDavid, right? So that's not really the end of the world. Basically, this is close to the number that you're saving on the cap this year with Jack Campbell. So we kind of can look at it and say they use the money in that area, really.
What do you make of the idea of Jeff Skinner to the Edmonton Oilers?
Yeah, what did Tommy say exactly? I was listening, and I saw Tommy say he just texted and said that they're still working on Skinner.
Well, it's heating up a little bit between the Oilers and Skinner. It was heating up at the very end of our hit. That's what he said.
I mean, Skinner's got money. I mean, you know, like with what he just got bought out with, it could be in a situation where Skinner's like, you know what? I want an opportunity to win. Come to Edmonton. If Kane is not around, or if they just don't like Kane and Draisaitl, you could tell Skinner, hey, dude, you're a shooter. We're going to put you on the left side with Leon Draisaitl. Like, sign a 1-year deal. Go play with Draisaitl. Score 40 goals, and then cash in on a bigger deal somewhere else if you want. Like, he could be looking at using the Oilers maybe to kind of get a bigger deal. So,
like the Tyson Barrie.
Yeah. Like I would still be slightly surprised if they get something done with Skinner, but I could see how they're trying to sell themselves to Skinner at this point. And we'll see what ends up happening with Evander Kane. I know there's been some speculation on that, you know, he would have to obviously clear some sort of move, so it would have to be a pretty good spot. I knew people were tweeting at me a couple of days ago saying, well, Stoff says there's a deal coming. So we'll see what ends up happening on the Evander Kane front. But if they move off of now, Evander Kane and Jeff Skinner probably could be two more different hockey players. I'm not sure fit-wise if that would end up being terrific, not having Evander Kane somewhere in this lineup. But we'll see what happens. For them to land Arvidsson and Skinner today, that'd be a really good day. I just don't know if they've got the wherewithal and the cap space to actually make both of those things happen. So I would assume it's probably Arvidsson, try to keep Yanmark. Maybe there's a depth defenseman added, and that's kind of the day. But when I heard Tommy say that things are heating up on Skinner, my ears perked up a little bit, because I do think they could tell him, come here, score 30, score 35, and then go get a 4 or 5 year deal from somebody else.
But does it scare you at all that he has no playoff games ever? That you have no idea what this guy could do in the playoffs. Like, it doesn't matter what he does in the regular season necessarily. This team needs to go win a Stanley Cup, and you don't actually know that this player who's played over 1,000 NHL games, you have no sample size, 0, on what he could potentially do when it comes to the playoffs.
Corey Perry's played a ton of playoff games. He doesn't help him anymore. You know what I mean? Like, and I saw Rashog say that maybe they run it back with Corey Perry. And if they do, I hope he's not playing every game because he just doesn't have the juice left. So, I mean, I'd rather see Jeff Skinner in the playoffs than Corey Perry in the playoffs. So I understand what you're saying, but maybe he'd be great in the playoffs. Like, we just don't know. Like, maybe you get there, like, damn, Skinner is one of the best playoff players I've ever seen. Like, there's this wild card factor there with him come playoff time if they do end up getting him. So I wouldn't say no, you're not going to sign him just because he's never played in the playoffs before, especially since the rest of this group now has this, the most important playoff experience that you could possibly have. And for most of the core coming back, they've got that under their belt now. So who cares if it's one guy? Like, if they're a team that had never gotten out of the first round still, maybe my answer would be a little bit different. But I'm not looking to bring in guys based on their lack of or the amount of playoff experience they have anymore.
Fair enough. What do you want? What else do you want to see the Oilers to be doing here? Like, is this Matthias Janmark done? Is this they need to go move out CC and improve the defense? Where should Jeff Jackson be focusing his attention right now? If after a Jeff Skinner move potentially. 3
months ago, I never thought I'd say it, but I really like the Connor Brown deal, bringing him back. So that's just wild. As for Matthias Janmark, I mean, it's interesting because what did he do? 4 years in Dallas, did a year in Chicago, did 2 in Vegas. Now he's got 2 in Edmonton. Does he head somewhere else for a couple of years, or can they get him in? Like, I'm not giving Matthias Janmark anything more than $2 million. Like, to me, he should get a little bit more than Connor Brown, and that's about it. Yeah, you were great in the playoffs, but you didn't piss a drop offensively the entire season. And you're part of a good penalty kill. I get it. But if you're going to be a guy who has one good offensive week during the regular season and can be a part of a penalty kill, then you're not getting more than $2 million. Simple enough. So if Matthias Janmark can go get more than $2 million somewhere else, congratulations to him. But the Edmonton Oilers can't be giving that guy 2.2 or 2.5 million bucks. I just don't think that's in the cards. He wants to come back for 1.5 million, 2-year deal. Perfect. Get it done. So I would like to see him back. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he would be great in their bottom 6 again for what the expectations of what you have him, what you need from him. And he obviously stepped up in the postseason. It was great. You're not going to get that probably from him for 82 games next year in the regular season. But outside of that, you bring in Arvidsson, depending on what happens with Kane or Hall. You can have Holloway in the top 6 as well. Still got McLeod on your third line. I think you do have to bring in probably at least 1, if not 2, bottom 6 forwards. I was watching on TSN. They had like the Oilers depth chart out, and there's a few guys that should be in the American League that were on that roster to start next year. So they should have the money to bring in, though, 3 more guys at a Connor Brown type deal and let them battle it out in the bottom 6.
Okay, do they have to do something on defense, though? Like, we're talking a lot about forwards here. Can they run back this defense? Like, and maybe no Vinnie Desharnais, but Philip Broberg steps in. Can you run back a defense that's Ekholm, Bouchard, Nurse, CC, Kulak, Broberg?
Can they? Yeah, they can. Should they? I mean, that's a different conversation, right? Like, I would assume they probably do. I mean, we've been talking about CC forever. I still had people reply on Twitter when I was talking offseason priority who are like, they've got to get rid of Nurse. It's not happening. Darnell Nurse is not going anywhere.
I'll also throw this out there. He's on the bachelor party with McDavid and Draisaitl. And that's how tight
if you're on that,
that's how tight it is.
The biggest no move ever.
People need to understand that. Like, I tried looking at the picture. I don't think I saw Nuge in that picture. I was trying to Nurse was in there. And that just says it all right there, that if you want to get rid of Nurse, you're also telling then Leon and Connor their guy needs to go.
Darnell Nurse is here forever. Okay. That's just how it works. You need to be ready for that. So, I said this earlier. I don't know, like, what's Desharnais going to get on the open market? Like, we love him in Edmonton because he's Vincent Desharnais and he put 2 guys in a headlock and he does the high fives with Stuart Skinner. But, like, nobody's giving Desharnais $3 million somewhere to play on the blue line. I mean, if they do, well done, sir. So to me, I mean, I could see him circling around, being there like, oh, the phone's not ringing, or the phone's ringing. And he's like, well, I can get that in Edmonton. Why wouldn't I just stay there? So I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening with Desharnais. If not, I mean, is it a Stetcher type, that level of defenseman that you bring in to be your number 7? Because, I mean, outside of Jeff Jackson and whoever ends up becoming general manager or whatever, maybe they do decide to move on from Cody Ceci or something like that. But I think as far as this roster gets constructed right now, this is what kind of the reason I'm like, I don't even know if we should talk about Skinner, because we always have all these great ideas for the roster. And it's just like, oh, Broberg's in this year, and it's the other same 5 guys, and they might win the division and could possibly win the Stanley Cup. So we always have like these grand illusions that all this great stuff's going to happen. But in the end, it'll probably be something minor on the back end.
Looking around the National Hockey League, I think you threw it in the nasty chat earlier about the Preds and where they go in the Western Conference. What do you make of what Barry Trotz is doing out there in Nashville?
Great day. Like, can you imagine? Like, so depending on where you looked, they brought in 3 of the top 4 guys available. I'm not even sure anytime any other team has ever done that. Like, they bring in Brady Shea, who doesn't have to carry the blue line because they have Roman Josi. So that's a nice fit. And then they bring in Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault. So they get 3 of the top 4 free agency targets. They drop like 20 mil on them. And they've already got a pretty good team. Like, now you've got Shea behind Roman Josi, who is one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League. You've already got some good pieces up front. Now you had Stamkos and Marchessault in there, 2 right shots who can obviously score. Huge day. And then they got Saros done on the long-term extension, whatever it was last week. So the Nashville Predators are probably looking at the division they're in and going, my God, like, this is a tough division with Dallas and Colorado, and we'll see what Winnipeg is. And they said, we got to step up and do something. And my computer almost fell down. With Stamkos, to get the $8 million that he got, considering what Tampa was offering him peanuts essentially, and he goes and cashes in there. So it's undoubtedly Nashville is better. It's just a matter of, are they good enough to get through Colorado and Dallas in that division? And that's yet to be seen. But I don't think anybody can do anything else the rest of the way today that could take them over what Nashville's already done. They were declared the winner on free agency day like 10 minutes in, which is pretty impressive.
It was actually before free agency almost even started.
Yeah,
you could have done
exactly.
that. Flip side then, who are you looking at going, what the hell are you doing out there?
Well, did the Kings end up giving Joel Edmondson 4 years at $3.8 million? I saw Clacker had that, but somebody said it wasn't locked in just yet. I know. I most of my free agency is done with Brennan Clack. Like, Clacker's tweeting out everything. So
it's nothing official yet, I don't think.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm curious to see what happens with Vancouver after you lose a couple of those UFAs. They bring in Jake DeBrusk. 7-year term for DeBrusk makes me think of the Canucks were sitting around being like, uh-oh, we don't have a chair at the table right now. We better give DeBrusk 7 years. So I like the player, but I thought that was a pretty long term. And the Toronto Maple Leafs giving Tanev the 6-year deal at 34 years old
with the no move clause.
Love Tanev,
full no move clause.
Though, and it's a bunch of signing bonuses, so it's basically like buyout proof as well. They basically like Tanev probably put out. People were probably giving Tanev a bunch of offers, right? And Tanev probably sent back one thing to everybody and said, this is the exact contract I want. And the Leafs were like, done. Let's do it. You know what? That would be great. 40-year-old Chris Tanev on a team that still hasn't won a cup since 67. Congratulations on all your success. So, I mean, I don't know. As soon as I saw that one, I thought, oh, boy, interesting day for Blue Liners. And when he got sick, like, nobody else was giving Tanev 6 years. No chance.
They gave extra. They gave a little extra term to OEL. They were throwing that out there. It seems like they're looking at this going, okay, we've got like 2 years of Matthews, 3 years of Matthews left. Like before he's ready to walk or he's going to ask for a trade or whatever it is. We got to win now before Matthews goes, and then who cares after because we're in rebuild mode anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what they're looking at. But, I mean, look at the team that Trey Living left in Calgary and tell me he's going to leave Toronto in a better spot. I mean, that's a lot of faith to put in his hands, considering the train wreck that he's left the Flames in.
Enjoy your travels up. Hopefully you get here so you can do the morning show tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be really weird if like the highway's closed today. And quickly on top of that, so I switched from my WestJet flight being like, I'm going to be proactive, get on Air Canada. It gets canceled. So it's like, I'll just rent a car, drive home even after the game Saturday night. Try to guess. I'll give you a guess, Maddie. Try to guess how much it would have cost me to rent a car to drive from the Calgary airport to the Edmonton airport.
So I don't know.
3 hours.
I don't know.
Drop it off.
I don't know car pricing, but I'll $250.
$1,600.
$1,600?
They wanted. Yeah, usually it's like $250.
$1,600.
I almost put that on my TSN credit card and was like, let's just see what the bounce rate is like. But I didn't. So yeah, $1,600 to rent a car to go from Calgary Airport to Edmonton Airport.
Just for giggles, I looked at what it would take to fly from Edmonton to Dallas to go watch the Canada Copa America on Friday. It was $1,600.
Yeah, to fly to Dallas. I'm assuming because all the flights were canceled.
Yes,
Saturday. Everybody got cars. But come on, I mean, there's gouging and then there's gouging. 16. I could have taken an Uber. I looked it up for $450. So I wouldn't even have to drive. Could have just sat back and chilled.
Oh, well, drive safe, Dustin. We'll chat with you tomorrow and get ready for a big staff meeting tomorrow.
Oh, yes, that's right. Big staff meeting. Send me what you want to talk about.
I have a lot to talk about.
Oh, those are usually fun ones. That's awesome. All right. Okay. See you later, buddy.
See you, Dusty. There's Dustin Nielson. Does it all. But host of the morning show right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, most notably. He will be back on air tomorrow with Lieutenant Eric, YouTube Trev, 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. They will announce the 25th contestant for the hole-in-one contest presented by Golf Town. They'll take place at the ranch on Wednesday. And we'll have full programming back right here on Edmonton Sports Talk tomorrow. The Hangout tomorrow, myself, Tom Gazzola. I got to figure out what I'm still going to do with that. Zach, you might be on the Hangout tomorrow.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good. And Trev has a presentation, I think, tomorrow. Are we doing that?
Well, if he has time. Well, I'll say this. I'm just going to throw this out there. If there's time, because I have a lot to get to in regards to the hole-in-one contest as well as the golf tournament next week. So if we have time for extra stuff, we'll get to the extra stuff.
Yeah, tomorrow's a big day like today is around the NHL.
Jason into the Paris Jewelers inbox 780-218-9999. Thanks for bursting my hopes on Nurse, Maddie. And that's like Darnell Nurse is on Connor McDavid's bachelor trip right now, or was. I don't know how long it's going with Leon Draisaitl. Like based on what I saw, they're the only two Oilers that are on that trip with him. That tells you all you need to know about the friendship and how close those three are. And so, like, you could try to trade Darnell Nurse, but you also then have to go to Leon Draisaitl, who needs a contract next year. You got to go to Connor McDavid, who needs a contract in 2 years, and go, we're getting rid of your buddy. You tell me whether Jeff Jackson should do that or not. That could really piss off two players that are quite important in very important times when it comes to their spots with the Edmonton Oilers. I do believe that, like, Darnell Nurse needs to have a really good year this upcoming season. Because I think if you have another, and it's most notably playoffs, if he has another playoffs where it's poor, then I think you could go to those guys with the look. We're trying to win a Stanley Cup. It's not happening with this guy. Maybe that's when you could do it. But I think it's just rather tough right now to go to Connor and Leon and tell them we're trading your boy. And also that takes into account that it's going to be hard to trade Darnell Nurse in general. Just straight up trading him is going to be difficult to do. So sorry to burst your bubble, but that's the thing I would look at with that is just look how close they are. That's all you have to see. That's all you have to know.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. And I completely agree that the only way that it would happen is if his performance is mediocre once again and really below average and not good. Pretty bad playoff performance from him. But if that happens again, that's the only time where you could be like, so, Connor, Leon, do you guys want to win here, or do you want your friend to play on the team? That's really what it would come down to.
And I think right now they would believe that their friend helps them, and that's why you can't go to them. That to go to them and say, we're going to get rid of him, I think they would go, no, but he helps us win too. So don't expect it. Don't expect it at all. Just a small note. Well, not small, but this just happening in the NBA. The Celtics majority ownership group is planning to make the franchise available for sale. I'm stunned by that because, well, they just won the title. I don't even know what the price point of that would be. That's got to be like $4 or $5 billion for a deal for that. Oof.
That'd be a lot of money.
I'm intrigued by that one.
That'd be a lot of money.
The price is just like, well, the Clippers went for $2 billion a number of years ago. They're the Clippers. This is the championship-winning Celtics who have more NBA titles than anyone else. I hate saying that, but they do. That price point is going to be extremely, extremely high. For those that don't have, or just tuning in, I should say. Sorry, I'm just trying to read some things here. For those that are just tuning in and haven't been paying attention to what the Edmonton Oilers have done today, Viktor Arvidsson, an Edmonton Oiler, a $4 million deal over 2 years. Connor Brown, 1 year, $1 million extension with the Oilers. James Hamblin, Noah Philp, each signing two-way deals with the Oilers. Hamblin, a 2-year deal. Philp, a 1-year deal. Both $775,000. Tom Gazzola having it that the things are heating up between the Edmonton Oilers and Jeff Skinner. Ryan Rishaug adding just 11 minutes ago as well that the Oilers are in on Skinner, but Tom Gazzola saying that when we had him on almost an hour ago here, that things were heating up between the Oilers and Jeff Skinner's camp, who was just bought out by the Buffalo Sabres. Sam Carrick is going to go to the New York Rangers on a 3-year, $1 million deal. It sounds like Henrique. It sounds like Desharnais. They are going to be testing the market. Maybe right now at this moment doesn't look as likely that they'll come back to the Edmonton Oilers. Warren Fogle signing with the LA Kings. Did we get the official number on that one?
I don't think we have mid $3.5 or $3 million range.
Something pop up.
Too many notifications, hey? Well, while you're finding that.
Well, I just have it right here. $3.5 million.
On the dot.
Yeah. You were going to say something then there?
Yeah. So multiple teams now are talking with Jeff Skinner, and the Oilers being one of the teams there, as previously mentioned. And then
who says that?
David Pagnotta.
Okay.
And Chris Johnson tweeted saying that Chandler Stevenson is expected to sign with the Seattle Kraken on a 7-year deal. So they already signed Brandon Montour for 7 years, so they're trying to make another splash in the market there and strengthen their team. Stevenson would be a good player, and for long term too, having both of those players there would be good for the Seattle Kraken, adding a lot to that team. Brandon Montour on the back end for 7 years, over $7 million it was. So more tweets coming out now. Zach Aston Reese signed a 1-year deal with Vegas. And Felix Copley and Trevor Lewis returning to LA as per Dennis Bernstein of the fourth period. Stefan Noesen as well, signing a 3-year deal in New Jersey, $2.75 million average as per Elliot Friedman. Matt Grzelcyk signing a 1-year deal, $2.75 million. Chris Johnson with that, and Grzelcyk signs with the Pens on that 1-year deal. So lots of movement still coming. I probably have over 150 Twitter notifications in like the last 30 minutes. I love this.
There's just a lot flying around. There's just a lot happening. People are saying Stoff saying something. I'm not seeing anything. The Edmonton Oilers good bet. Stoffer just saying a tweet from a couple minutes, about 10 minutes ago. The Edmonton Oilers good bet to be adding a hard-nosed number 6 right hand who Chris Knobloch and Connor McDavid know well from their OHA days. Some people in the nasty chat saying Radish, for Radish. Darren Radish would be the guy coming. So we'll keep blocks to that. Rob the Plumber, any word on Rico? I hope he comes back. As Gazzola said when we had him on a bit earlier, his time here in Edmonton, he enjoyed it more than he was expecting coming to the Edmonton Oilers. He enjoyed his time here. He would be open to a return to the Oilers, but he knows that the money might not necessarily be there with the Oilers, so he is going to be testing the market. With who Adam Henrique is, there's probably, and especially with what we've seen in regards to the money that has been spent today by general managers. I think Penner's Pancakes has it. Wow, so many overpays today. GMs love to overpay. GMs love to make mistakes on July 1st. So there's probably a good chance that some team is going to give Adam Henrique that money he might be looking for. But the door is still open that if it's fully not there, for him to circle back and maybe come back to the Edmonton Oilers. But as of right now, he's testing the market. It looks more likely that he won't be returning to the Oilers.
And Chandler Stevenson's contract has been confirmed by Elliot Friedman. 7 years at around $6.25 million. So Chandler Stevenson will be signed and be in Seattle, heading over there. 7-year deal. Edmonton Oilers have, about $8 million cap after signing Viktor Arvidsson for 2 years at $4 million average. Also didn't re-sign Vinnie Desharnais, as Desharnais is going to test the market. And as Dusty said, he's not going to go, and I don't think he's going to go get $3 million from really any team. Sure, he could go sign somewhere. He will be looking for the money. As Tom Gazzola said, there's no really, not many contract negotiations he has left, just coming up in the way that he has really emerged as an NHL player in Edmonton. But for him to test the market makes a lot of sense, to try and see if he could get as much money and really get the bag, as I like to say. you got to try and get the money while you have it out there. But I feel like there's a high probability that he could come back and circle around to see what the Edmonton Oilers are offering if he doesn't really like what he sees.
Thank you to RCN, who's saying it's actually Josh Brown, who Stoff will be talking about. Won a title with the Oshawa Generals in 14-15. That's who he's talking about. Josh Brown was last couple seasons with the Arizona Coyotes last year. Right-handed defenseman, 51 games, 3 goals, 7 assists, was +2 with the Coyotes last season. He is 30, going to be 31 in January of next season. So that comes back to a Bob Stauffer tweet that he said the Oilers good bet to be adding a hard-nosed number 6 right D, who Chris Knobloch and Connor Bound know well from their OHL days, not OHL days. So we'll keep locked on to that as we just keep waiting. So it sounds like maybe connected to Josh Brown. If they bring in Josh Brown, I think that's it. That's pretty clear that's it for Vinnie Desharnais.
Oh yeah,
right. Like
right.
Unless you could find a way to move CC, but even then you're bringing someone else in. You've got Ekholm, Bouchard, CC, Nurse, Kulak, Broberg, and potentially Josh Brown. There's your 7th defenseman. Vinnie Desharnais isn't returning to the Edmonton Oilers at that point. There just also wouldn't be really a spot there. So we'll keep tabs on that. And again, when it comes to Jeff Skinner, things are heating up. You had it from Dave Pagnotta that multiple teams are talking with the Jeff Skinner camp. So we'll keep it locked here to see if anything comes up with that one very soon. Your thoughts always welcome. 780-218-9999. That is the Parish Jewelers inbox. Or you can jump into the nasty chat. Move CC, yes, please, says Jody. I think a lot of people would agree with you on that, but at this point in time, it just doesn't seem likely. You've gone through the draft, you've gone into the start of free agency. Might be a little tough to move. Although, actually, with Cody Ceci's still he's a serviceable NHL defenseman. He could play for some team. I mean, he's not a guy that you'd maybe want if you're a top contender to win a Stanley Cup. But if you're in that bottom half of the NHL, you might have a spot for Cody Ceci. So after all the dust settles from this free agency, maybe there's a spot to move on from Cody Ceci. The downside to that is you then can't go sign anyone defensively. So how do you go and replace a Cody Ceci a la trade? So as Tom Gazzola pointed out when we had him on, maybe it's one of those situations here where you make those moves in the season. Maybe a la Ekholm from 2 years ago. Maybe that's the move that happens during this upcoming season. Is you make the move from Cody Ceci, you send him somewhere, and then you bring someone else in to replace Cody Ceci on the blue line. Maybe that's the way it goes. Norman, a combine. So we're in the NBA. If he needs to go, trade him. That's in regards to Darnell Nurse, but it's easy to just say that. It's a lot more difficult when you also know that Leon Draisaitl needs a contract right now for next season. And Connor McDavid's contract comes up in 2 seasons. What if that's the thing that's that is a sticking point for those boys and go, no, we want Darnell Nurse here. What are you going to say? What are you going to say to those guys? Like that is part of, and truthfully, I'll say it, some stars deserve that power in the National Hockey League. Some stars deserve to use that power. And 2 of those guys who have it is Connor and Leon. And that's partly also because of just where their contracts are, their contract statuses. Like, we need to wait for today to go through. We'll see the next few days to go through. The Oilers need to go hire a general manager. But there's a Darnell Nurse extension that needs to be done. Do you really want to be pissing him off before that contract even?
Or Leon Draisaitl. You said Darnell Nurse. Yeah,
sorry.
You got Nurse on your mind, though.
Confused. Yeah. Leon Draisaitl, do you want to be, at the very least, pissing him off as you're getting into a contract negotiation? Because ultimately, you need this contract done by the end of this calendar year. I'll extend it to the end of this calendar year. You can't afford to allow him to walk for nothing next offseason. You need this done so you know you have him locked up. So do you really want to piss him off?
Not really. No, you don't. And he has the right to put his foot down and be like, me and Connor need Nurse here. Nurse has to be here because their relationship is great together. They've been friends since junior, and have played with each other a lot. Of course, what you alluded to, which I didn't even realize, that on the bachelor party, the only two Oilers in McDavid's a part of McDavid's bachelor party is Leon Draisaitl and Darnell Nurse. So they're tight. They're homies, man. I mean, there's nothing else to say. And you want to enjoy your time on the team as well and outside of it. And they have the power. Connor and Leon both have the power to say, look, if Darnell Nurse isn't here, I'm gonna go. And honestly, the way it's looking, Leon Draisaitl could be signed and could break the record for the highest NHL contract.
Oh, I don't know if he'll do that. What's the highest right now? It's McKinnon, isn't it?
McKinnon or Matthews, I think, right now. Like Matthews, 13.25 with bonuses, or 13.5, I believe.
13.25. McKinnon. Where's Colorado one here? Wait, they're right below the Oilers. McKinnon, 12.6 actually. Oh no, okay. So yeah, he'll break the record. You're right.
He's gonna get
14.
14.
He'll get 14. Connor will get 16. Bouchard will get around 10.
So what? That's 40. Can I do math? 40 million in between.
Yeah.
3 players. That's. But
again, as I said earlier, by the time Connor's contract kicks in, cap's probably going to be around $100 million.
And
so you have $60 million to fill the rest of your team. But combined between Connor, Leon, and Bouchard, what are we talking about here? 280 points potentially, if not more, like 300 points.
So no matter, just throw the money.
If you put Leon and Connor both at 100 points a season, and that's low for Connor especially, and Bouchard's 80, that's 280 right there. So 120 for Connor, 100 for Leon, and 80 for Bouchard. I'm okay with that at $40 million.
That's fine. Just honestly throw the money at them to keep them, because the duo is way too much. And I agree with you. The calendar, you can't let them just go. It can't be like what was the last player? Johnny Gaudreau, who just walked from Calgary, didn't re-sign. He went to Columbus, and now he's there. So you need to get something from a player like that if it ends up not being a re-sign. But
it's a tough spot, because the only way you could be able to get something from Leon then is you'd have to trade him at like a deadline. But if you're going for a cup, you can't. That's why it just has to get done. And I'll go back to, you can't piss off your players then. You can't piss off your stars if you want to get this done in time. You've got a poll up on YouTube right now. Do you like the signing of Viktor Arvidsson for the Oilers? 89% saying they do like it. This text coming in to the Paris Jewelers inbox. Well, there's 2 of them. 780-218-9999. Cam, when players start dictating no matter who, then it's time to trade away. That comes from Cam and Jay in the Park. Do they want to win a cup or play hockey with their friends? Nurse isn't contributing enough for that to happen. What if Leon and Connor both believe that Nurse is contributing to this team and helps this team? What if they don't sit there? If you sit there and you go, if you're Jeff Jackson, you sit down with Leon Connor and say, we want to trade Darnell Nurse, and those two say, no. This guy, while he's our friend, he helps us win the cup. How do you counter that? Like, it's nice that everyone wants to just, from this position, play tough with Connor and Leon. But what would you do if all of a sudden they're actually ultimately really pissed off? Are you okay to piss them off? Like, that's the part to all this. Are you okay to piss off Connor and Leon as they're going to need new contracts?
Can't afford it.
Like I think that risk to me is just too great. I think there's still a player in Darnell Nurse. I think it could still help. I think he could, he had a poor playoffs this year. There's nothing that says to me though that's definitely the only type of player we're going to see in the playoffs moving forward. Darnell Nurse. He can't get back to being much more impactful in the playoffs. I'm willing to take that risk and take that bet while also not pissing off my 2 best players, then pissing them off and also pissing them off in a way that also I might not even be able to trade Darnell Nurse. I may have told that, it may come out there that I'm trying to move Darnell Nurse, but ultimately you might not be able to move Darnell with that contract. That's the way I look at this.
I do see there is a lot in Darnell Nurse. I've been a Nurse defender for so long, and this past playoffs, it's been hard to defend Darnell Nurse for quite some time. And CC is his defensive partner there. It's almost seemed Nurse needs a player to help him become better rather than the other way around. And it should be that other way around, where Nurse should be that anchor for a player, whoever he plays with, to bring the best out in them. And he does have a lot of upside. Against the Winnipeg Jets, when the Oilers were swept, he played fantastic. And I know that's 4 years ago now. I don't know how long it was, but it's not recent. But there's been glimpses of that play in playoffs and during the regular season. In the COVID year, he was able to produce, and he just hasn't really came up to snuff and touched that season that he's had before. But there is that possibility still there, and you just got to hope, right? Leon and Connor both know the kind of player Darnell is, and seeing him, he does have a lot of skill. Like, he is a very viable player. He will never be worth that contract that he has, and that'll always be a cloud over his head. But you could still
That's a cloud over Ken Holland's head, not over his. It shouldn't be over his head. I stand by that.
And that's fair.
We would have all taken that contract.
Oh, I mean, you're taking money. You're not going to take less money just because you're less of a player. But it seems like fans get upset at the player because of the money they're making, because of the contract that was offered to them. And it's hard. Like, you look at Jeff Skinner. People weren't very fond of him. I believe if you were a Sabres fan, you would be like, come on, $9 million. You got to do more than that. But it was a contract that was offered to him. It's the money that he took. It is the manager's fault, I guess you could say, for giving the player that sort of money. But it's always put on the player to try and perform more, because that is, I guess, what they were paid to do with that money. But I agree with you in that sense, yeah.
Epiphany saying a Nurse's no movement clause kicks in 2027. I'm not saying that it's hard to move him because of a no move. I'm saying it's hard to move him because the contract might be actually difficult. Who would want that contract necessarily? That's the part I'll go with that. Kirk Minahan, which I don't think is the real Kirk Minahan. It's a business, not a house league team. Iwanyk sounds like a guy who played rec league sports. Did you play professionally sports? I don't know. Did any of us play professional sports? I don't know what that has to do with it. But it is a business too, though. And part of the business in this is you need to keep your stars happy. We say that all the time. We've talked about that for a number of years. Everyone always talked about for all these years. You got to keep Connor and Leon happy. Don't piss off Connor and Leon. There's been a lot of players brought in to play with Connor that Connor knows to keep him happy. This would be part of it too. And I also do, though, fully believe that the players, they don't just want Darnell around because he's a friend. They also want him around because they believe that he's actually useful and important to this hockey team. And he's an important part of the leadership group of this team. And to McDavid 97, who retracted his message there saying, where was I? I said that Paul Coffey wouldn't be a good coach, and I haven't brought up that dog bleep take again. Actually, I've brought up a lot of those that again. I was completely wrong with that whole situation. I thought Chris Knoblauch, I've even gone with that one. I thought he was going to be a terrible hire. I didn't think that was what the Oilers needed at the time. I was wrong. I have no problem admitting when I was wrong with that one. Paul Coffey was an excellent defensive coach for this team this past season. Way better than anything we've seen from him in his time as being assistant coach or development coach at any other point throughout his history of since playing pro sports, since his playing days. Yeah, I was wrong on that one. I have no problem admitting that. I have no problem admitting that I was wrong after criticizing him when he said, I really don't want to be doing this, but I'm doing this, and having concerns about that. I have no problem saying that. I was wrong. That's what happens. We're not always 100% right.
Wow, confessions.
If I was completely perfect and knew everything every hockey take I was perfect, I would be employed by an NHL team.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I would be at that point.
And if you're right about everything, I mean, you could be betting money, right? You know what I mean? Like, what are the lottery ball numbers? But people get it wrong. There's always takes, but to see it in that way, Paul Coffey coming out and saying, "Well, I don't really want to be doing this." Yeah, there would have been genuine concern there, and you look at is it the new Lakers coach who has zero
JJ
coaching
Redick's
experience?
never coached.
And that's the thing.
He's gone from playing days to being in the broadcast booth, and now he's going to be a head coach after doing a podcast with LeBron James. It's, as I've said, It's going to go either unbelievably great, it's going to be incredible, or it's going to be an unmitigated disaster, and I don't know if there's an in-between on this one.
And that's what happened. Even the professional world, it's probably LeBron James has a lot of say in it. His son Bronny is now drafted. There's a lot there. And I know this is NHL free agency day, but you could get it wrong,
has
too.
been a little wild today. I'm not going to lie. It's been Paul George going to the 76ers. Clippers got nothing. Although they still have James Harden. 780-218-9999 Paris Jewelers inbox. We only got about 15, 20 minutes left here on Edmonton Sports Talk NHL free agency special that we're doing today, Rubella 2.0. This contracts during free agency today make me glad the Oilers didn't need to make a splash. Rip City Step. Don't know if this is joking or if he's being serious, because this often it can be used as just a joke. If they considered putting Nurse on the wing. Ian in enemy territory. Nurse is serviceable. The contract hurts, but he can contribute. Just needs a decent partner. Perhaps Broberg is a good fit with him. And here's the counter I'll have to that, though, is I understand that the people that are upset with Darnell Nurse that want to move on go, well, he should be making others better. It shouldn't be up to others making him better. I do fully understand where that comes from.
And breaking news, Josh Brown has officially been signed by the Edmonton Oilers on a 3-year deal carrying a $1 million AAV. So Chris Johnson tweeting that out. And
well,
now
the Oilers have put that out there too.
Oh,
so they've
official.
made it official.
Official. So that 7th D guy, Vinnie Desharnais, walks to free agency. The Oilers find Josh Brown, give him $1 million on a 3-year term.
Great price.
Great price point for him, that's for sure. I can't disagree.
If you're Vinnie Desharnais, like you're going to go get money, and all the best. I hope he can find that money. But there doesn't seem like a spot now for you to return to the Edmonton Oilers if you can't find that money, and you've walked potentially from a chance of winning the Stanley Cup. Josh Brown, last 2 years in Arizona, 68 games played 2 years ago, 7 points. 51 games played last year with Arizona, 10 points. So he fits nicely into that 7th spot, I guess, for the Edmonton Oilers. I just want to see if I could find how much he's made in his career.
And he is
the last couple of years, he was making his cap hit was $1.275 million. So taking just a little bit off. But he's been in the NHL for a little bit, so he's obviously made a bit more money than Vincent Desharnais, and Desharnais, that late bloomer, looking out there to get that cash. But Josh Brown, 3 years, $1 million with the Edmonton Oilers. Viktor Arvidsson earlier today, $4 million 2-year deal with the team.
And I don't know where it stands with Jeff Skinner, who the Oilers are in talks with as well. So 2 signings so far for the Edmonton Oilers, adding a piece on their back end and then on the forward group as well. And just with Josh Brown, he broke into the league in 18-19, played 37 games there for the Florida Panthers, where he was a 6th-round pick, 152 overall. He is a 30-year-old right-shot defenseman, weighs 220 pounds and just over 6 feet tall. So he's another piece for the Oilers, and on a 3-year deal, $1 million average. That isn't too bad for a depth piece like that, and he had a lot of showing out on the Coyotes, 51 games, 10 points, 3 goals last season for the Coyotes. And he also played for Boston, the Sens, so he's been around to a few teams, but another depth piece for the Oilers on that right side.
I'm going to throw this out there right now just to everyone in these final minutes that we have of this EST free agency special. Viktor Arvidsson in $4 million 2 years. Josh Brown in $3 million 1 year. Potentially Jeff Skinner coming to the Edmonton Oilers. Tom Gazzola saying that things were heating up between the Oilers and Jeff Skinner. Out, Vinnie Desharnais, Warren Fogle, Adam Henrique. I don't know still what's going on with Matthias Janmark, so I'm not going to throw him in there.
And Sam Carrick's out as well.
And Sam Carrick, thank you. What do you make of that? Where would you be grading that in terms of Jeff Jackson's day? So again, Viktor Arvidsson, $4 million 2 years, potentially Jeff Skinner, if they could get that done, as well as Josh Brown being your 7th defenseman, 3 years, $1 million. But no Vinnie Desharnais, no Adam Henrique, no Sam Carrick, and no Warren Fogle. Fogle getting 3.5 for 3 years out in LA. Where would you rank that? Nasty chat, 780-218-9999. 218-9999 Paris Jewelers inbox.
Some breaking news for Dallas. So, it sounds, not sure, but it sounds like Brendan Smith is heading to Dallas. Elliot Friedman tweeting that out. And I saw earlier Matt Dumba to Dallas, Bob McKenzie saying that. And then David Pagnotta saying the Penguins have had contract talks with Sidney Crosby and Marcus Peterson. Captain's a huge priority. A 3-year deal is discussed as it stands right now for Crosby's next contract. That was just tweeted out by David Pagnotta.
Oh, okay. 3 years for him with Pittsburgh. He's going to stick around.
I think he's going to try to.
I'm impressed by we don't know what the Penguins might become. Like they might be a teardown coming up here, but if he wants to stick around, I was very intrigued to see what his next step would be. Would he stay for the teardown or whatever might be coming there? Would he want to go play with like a Nathan McKinnon? Would he want to go play somewhere else? Would he just want to retire because he's done it all? So Pep Pagnotta is saying it may be a 3-year extension being discussed between Crosby and the Penguins. Kirk Minahan back in the nasty chat. Brown major overpay in terms of term because it's $1 million to 3 years. The thing about that though is you could bury the mill easily in the minors. So if it's not there, you could throw him on waivers. You could send him in the minors. And that would be off the books entirely, wouldn't it? If I'm not mistaken with the money. So that is, to me, the 3 years, it's no worries at all. He's 30 years old. He'll be 31 in January. So by the time his contract's done, he'll be 34. They have a little bit of a player there. But again, it's easy to bury. And I think just because of how cheap the price is, that's somebody you could throw into a deal later on to move it out. So I know what you mean, 3 years a bit, but I think just because of the money part of that 3 years is very easy to tolerate and very easy to then just deal with should you need to deal with it down the line. The Wolf saying Broberg is an offensive defenseman. I would not put him with Nurse, as Nurse loves to be up on the rush. That's a very fair point. The one thing Nurse though just needs to, I think, focus on his physical game. He needs to bring that back. He's lost that edge to him. That if you're not getting that, then it is. What are you bringing right now for Darnell Nurse? That's the thing I think. Get that going first, and then I think a lot of other things will come as well. $1 million is free money under the cap since you could bury it in the AHL. That coming in from Frozone 112 exactly. Like that's the Josh Brown. That's easy. That's an easy money to deal with and get rid of if you need it. And the 3 years, that's Daryl Cates. At that point, that's just Daryl Cates paying the money for the sake of it. As long as Daryl Cates is willing to do that, no problem. And based on how much money the city of Edmonton and Oiler fans gave to Daryl Cates and the Oilers this playoffs, they have the money to pay for that $1 million down in the minors if it needs to happen over the next few years. Jason Zucker going to the Buffalo Sabres, 1 year, $5 million. The Brendan Smith, it's 1 year, $1 million. That's just coming down as well.
And Pagnotta, again, 2 tweets here, quite a few actually. Matt Dumba, 2-year deal with Dallas at $3.75 million. And then the Islanders announced that they're signing Anthony Duclair to a 4-year deal. Details aren't there just yet, and it's been confirmed now that Teuvo Teravainen is headed back to Chicago 3 years at $5.4 million. So I believe he won a Stanley Cup with the Blackhawks at one point. So Bertuzzi was signed earlier at $5.5 million, I believe, 4 years, going to Chicago. And now Chicago has Teuvo Teravainen up in their lineup as well.
In the nasty chat, somebody asking any news on signing Bouchard. I would think that's to come. I think right now, if I had to guess what Jeff Jackson's priorities are, it was to deal with was there something connected there? Oh, that's weird. Sorry, I don't know if it went on the stream, but there was like this weird noise that popped into mine and Zach's head there. So I would think you're dealing with your free agents that have become, unrestricted free agents. You're dealing with trying to bring players in like they are right now with Arvidsson, bringing in Josh Brown, trying to bring in Jeff Skinner. After that, then I think your focus turns to the 4 guys that need to be signed. The 2 guys for this year, and Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg. I wouldn't imagine those will be too crazy of contracts. They're both RFAs. I don't think they have a lot of negotiating power behind them when it comes to this, so we'll see how those play out. But then it's the Bouchard and Leon Draisaitl contracts. Those become the top ones. Also in there, which I forgot to mention, I don't know where you want to wedge it in, but there's the hiring a general manager. That's got to fit in there somewhere. You got to get the Jeff Jackson, as he said last week, he wants to do the full interviews. He wants to go and talk to some people that are on other teams. So that's going to take a little bit of time. So I don't know how you want to prioritize this summer and the next few weeks for Jeff Jackson and the Oilers, but it's today you're focused on is on free agency, the players leaving and coming. And then after that, you could focus on GM and the RFAs/UFAs for this year and next year when it comes to Broberg, Holloway, Draisaitl, Bouchard. So we'll see how that fully plays out.
And that's one thing that was really buried under the thicket, I guess, with the Stanley Cup run, having to get a new general manager, and then the draft as well. The Oilers trading a conditional 2025 first-round pick to the Flyers for the 32nd overall pick this year, and just on Friday draft night, drafting Sam O'Reilly from the London Knights forward for the London Knights there. So 32nd overall pick, of course, on Friday there. And I believe the term for that trade was top 12 protected. So for the 2025 first round pick over to the Flyers. And then if the Oilers end up trading their 2025 pick to somebody else, Flyers automatically get the 2026 first rounder. So no first round picks, I think, for the next few years. The Oilers are probably going to be moving it this year. They have to, I think.
Well, they got now the player, though, that they might be really high on. It sounds like Richard Precy's very high on him. So at least they have a first-round pick to help try to stock the cupboards a little bit there. Darcy, actually, I'll get to Darcy in a bit. There was another message that came in. Jay in the Park, why do you think Tarasenko would sign? What do you think Tarasenko would sign for as a third-line winger? Too much for Edmonton, I would guess. Like the Edmonton Oilers right now, they do need to have Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg signed for next year. They have just under $7 million in cap space right now. So I don't know how much would be left. If you sign Jeff Skinner, there's just no money right now to do anything else, I would think, after that. With Holloway, Broberg, and Skinner being added to that, if you want to bring in someone else, that would be, you either have to shift away from Skinner, I guess, for a Tarasenko, or it's going to be a point you then have to get rid of some sort of money, potentially being an Evander Kane if he's willing to move, because he does have that full no-move clause. And then, what was it? Darcy saying, Bouchard will command a massive pay raise. Money will have to move out, in my honest opinion. When you look at next year, the cap at the moment right now, the Oilers have a projected cap space of just shy of $35 million. We've projected Leon would get 14. We're saying if Bouchard gets 10, that's $24 million. So that leaves just shy of $15 million, if my math is correct there. $15 million. You also would need to sign, well, Ryan McLeod's an RFA. Brown and Derek Ryan are UFAs. Cody Cece's a UFA. So you don't actually have a lot to sign. So actually the Oilers are at a pretty decent spot, I would say, when it comes to next year. When you're having to, if I've got everything right, they've got 11 players signed for next year, so there will be a little bit more. But if you give Bouchard 10, you give Leon 14, that still gives you 15 for a little bit. You don't have too much necessarily to do. And also the cap will go up. The cap being projected, for next year, if it's the same as this year, it would be, oh no, they're $92 million for next year. Actually, they've already got a projection on Cap Friendly. Never mind.
I just got to jump in and say the Washington Capitals buying Cap Friendly.
Oh.
No,
that's how we're jumping on that one.
No, that's not the one that I like to see.
Yeah, it's I'm gonna have to. It sucks. Enjoy the last few days of Cap Friendly. It sucks because I haven't used Puckpedia. Not that I have anything against Puckpedia. I've just been using Cap Friendly ever since Cap Geek went away. So having to train myself to go to Puckpedia, there's going to be many times I know I'm going to type in Cap Friendly, and it's going to be blocked or whatever it is, and it's just like, crap.
Sad day.
Yeah.
It'll be a sad day.
But I get it. Congrats.
It's
a smart move. The Oilers should have done that. It was a smart move.
Just keep it for themselves. But Elliot Friedman tweeting, sounds like the Pittsburgh Penguins are trading Riley Smith to the Rangers. And then David Pagnotta a minute ago tweeting, the Islanders re-sign defenseman Mike Riley to a 1-year contract. No details on that as it stands right now. But the Penguins, so they trade for Kevin Hayes. They get a second-round pick, trading, the nomad of the league, as I like to call him, future considerations for Kevin Hayes there. So another veteran player whose cap hit is pretty big, in talks with Crosby, and then trying to ship out Riley Smith, as it seems like, who they just got. It feels like trying to make some moves there. But when did they get Riley Smith? Was it last year or the year previous to that? Because I know it's a very recent thing. It feels like, anyways, in the last year or so. Getting Riley Smith.
He was last year was his first year there, or this past season, the 23-24.
And his cap hit's just $5.5 million in that range. It's a pretty big cap hit for Riley Smith. Yeah,
$5 million.
Pretty big cap hit, I'd say, for Riley Smith. And trying to ship him out might be the move. Now, Pierre LeBrun tweeting, and Chris Johnson here can confirm the New York Rangers are acquiring Riley Smith from the Pens. So he is on the move. He's going to go to the Big Apple. And no details on that. Full details on that. Draft picks are the return, as per Elliot Friedman. So draft picks for Riley Smith, and Riley Smith is now a member of the Rangers, which is an odd move, I'd say. I don't know. Riley Smith has a big contract. I don't think he's fully worth that $5 million. He's not he would fit, I think, on the Rangers, though. But making that swap for the Penguins, getting more draft picks, trying to stock the cupboards, getting that second-round pick to take on Hayes' contract, and then if it's just straight-up picks that they're trading out, Penguins making that move to try and get some more picks for the upcoming season, and they know that their time is dwindling. I mean, Crosby's getting older, Malkin's up there. They have Hayes now, Erik Karlsson, Letang, like all of their players they're going to be in a full rebuild here very, very soon. Very soon, the Penguins. So trying to get some picks for...
Maybe try to speed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
You have some picks, maybe use them as some sort of capital at some point to bring in some players a little bit sooner. We're almost going to be wrapped up here for this special NHL Free Agency special here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Iwanyk, Zach Kubusch, a.k.a. Zachticum, with you here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, on TuneIn, on iHeartRadio, as well as those watching on YouTube. Coming up at 1 o'clock today on our audio stream, we've got Edmonton Stingers action. They are home, actually, down at the Expo Center, so you still have time to get down there to the Hive at the Expo Center as they're taking on Saskatchewan. That's at 4 o'clock today. I think I said 1. It's 4 o'clock today. I think I scheduled it wrong on our audio stream. That's coming up at 4 o'clock today. And then Edmonton's Riverhawks, they're down with their big fireworks night down at Remax Field. That's at 7 o'clock. You can catch both those games live right here on Edmonton Sports Talk on our audio stream, on TuneIn, on iHeartRadio, or on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. For those that have missed it today or missed any of this, I'll just quickly recap what's happened with the Edmonton Oilers. The day started with Connor Brown signing a 1-year, $1 million contract extension. James Hamblin, a 2-year, two-way deal for $775,000. Noah Philp, 1-year, two-way contract for $775,000. Sam Carrick to the New York Rangers, 3 years, $1 million per year. Warren Fogle to the LA Kings, 3 years, $3.5 million. Viktor Arvidsson, though, coming to the Edmonton Oilers on a 2-year deal worth $4 million. And Josh Brown, defenseman, 30-year-old right-handed, coming in as a 7th defenseman, 3-year deal worth $1 million. Vinnie Desharnais is off on the market. So was Adam Henrique. So was Matthias Yanmark. Am I missing any other Oiler that's out there, or is it just those 3 that are left because Fogle signed? I guess Corey Perry.
Oh, yeah, Corey Perry.
I mentioned Sam Carrick signing.
That's right.
And we'll see. It doesn't look like there's a spot for Vinnie Desharnais. The Oilers in talks, things heating up according to Tom Gazzola between the Oilers and Jeff Skinner, but Dave Pagnotta also of the fourth period saying there's a few teams circling around Jeff Skinner. So we'll keep it locked to we'll keep it tuned to see if anything comes up on that. Your final thoughts there, Zach?
I'm still in shock, sort of, just to see the huge pickups that the Predators have made. That's one thing that really stands out to me. Now they're up there in the chase for the cup. They are contenders on paper, high contenders, I think, after signing Brady Shea and getting Jonathan Marchessault and Steven Stamkos to sign on the dotted line for some term. So they got some big players on their roster. And for the Edmonton Oilers, I think they made the right choice signing Arvidsson. has those injury issues, but he can always show up. Jeff Skinner's still floating around, and Josh Brown, I think, is a decent replacement for Vinnie Desharnais as he looks to walk. I don't think he'll come back, and the Oilers will be interested in him any longer after getting Josh Brown for 3 years, $1 million. So overall, I think it's been successful as it stands right now for the Edmonton Oilers on day one of free agency. And they do just need, I think, that one more forward piece to really replace Fogle. Like, I don't think Arvidsson is a replacement of Fogle.
No, he fills in that top six with Dylan Holloway, and it's who's going to fill out that bottom six. And that's where I would think it's Jeff Skinner is, weirdly enough, doesn't have the size, but he'd be that bottom six guy, top nine, I guess, if you will, if you want to look at it that way, because I think Dylan Holloway deserves that first crack at the top six. Viktor Arvidsson would fit in there. Draisaitl, Nuge, Hyman, McDavid. That's kind of what I'd be looking at as the top six. So anything else, I guess, as I said, would be more top nine for this team. It's a fascinating day. We'll keep things locked for Jeff Skinner. A reminder tomorrow, 6 a.m., Dustin Nielson, Lieutenant Eric, YouTube Trev. They will be on fully recapping more of what's happened at free agency today across the NHL. A little bit in the NBA, I'm sure that they might get to. But NHL free agency, and including the Edmonton Oilers, and reaction on anything else the Oilers might do, is we're really looking at one player specifically, and that is Jeff Skinner. We're back with live full programming tomorrow anyways. Hangout at 9 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, we get the lock shop. At noon, it will be two guys and a goalie with Dusty, Gager, and Cass. And like I said, 4 o'clock today right here on our audio stream, it's the Edmonton Stingers. They're in action down at the Expo Center. Then at 7 o'clock, it's the Riverhawks. They're in action down at Remax Field. So if you can't get down to those games, you could just listen to them right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. I'd like to thank you, our listener, for tuning in, whether it be on TuneIn, iHeart, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, on YouTube, any other way you may be listening to us. Thanks for tuning in on a Canada Day, spending some of your Canada Day with us. We were glad to spend it with you and provide you with this content. On behalf of Zach Kubusch, a.k.a. Zachticum, I'm Iwanyk. Have a wonderful remaining Canada Day, and I will chat with you tomorrow on The Hangout. Bye now.